this is Dave from Rock and Reel Reviews, and you're listening to Rock and Reel Reviews' very first podcast. Now, today is a very special podcast because not only is it the very first podcast for Rock and Reel Reviews, but we also have every Rock and Reel reviewer in the room today for the first time.
Yay!
Hello.
Although, given it's metal, we should have said this is the Maiden podcast.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Maiden.
Yeah. So we usually work in our own wee worlds, doing our own kind of reviews and stuff, and contact via email or text or whatever. But today we have come together for the podcast. Kind of like the Avengers. They're all like saving the world individually, but
podcasts are the same.
Podcasts are different.
That kind of makes you Nick Fury, then you're in charge.
Nick Fury, right? Who are you?
Clearly the Hulk.
The Black Widow.
Oh no, your chest's not big enough for that.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff today. Loads and loads of topics to cover today. Talking about albums that we've heard so far. We're about 6 months into the year so far. We've heard a complete shitload of music so far. So we're going to be talking about stuff that we've really liked so far and stuff maybe that we didn't like so much so far.
The Bunny the Bear.
Yeah, we won't mention that quite yet, but yeah, we'll come to that. We'll also be talking about a few different genres that are kind of on the rise this year.
Should we introduce ourselves?
We'll get to that, Mark.
Oh, right, okay, well, hold on a minute.
Give me a second. So we'll be talking about different genres, stuff that's on the rise. We've also got a good debate, a good topic about reissues, remasters and deluxe editions. Whether we think they're good or bad. Are they worth buying, or are they just record companies trying to extort more cash at us? Yeah, so we're covering that. We're talking about movies, in particular remakes for this year. Remakes has been a big year. This has been a big year for remakes even. So we're talking about stuff that's been out already and stuff that's still up and coming this year. We've also got some exclusives for you.
Ooh.
Thanks for that. So we're talking about some albums that are due out later this year. We've got some exclusive info for you from the record labels. We'll be sharing that with you as well. And also what's on the horizon film-wise as well. I'll be talking about that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all we've got really at the moment.
Some general bullshit that we'll contribute as we go as well, probably. Yep.
So so everyone's here. Rock and Reel Reviews. We've got Baz. We've got Duncan.
Hello.
We've got Mark.
Cool.
And Mr. Oban FM himself. Mikey.
Yay!
The only one that does this professionally for a living.
Yes, I do have a radio voice. Yes, I broadcast 2 times a week.
Hello, Emerald City. What's doing? What's happening?
Welcome to KBBN, Baby and the Donkey.
So before we get started on albums and stuff, that little track, or a bit of a track that you heard at the very beginning, was a band called 12 Bore, and they're from Hampshire in the UK. That track was called Smoking Bones, and it's from their EP Split Tongue Cloven Hoof, which is out now, and you can actually download it absolutely free
For fuck all.
from their website or their Bandcamp site.
That was very nearly spit roasted there, David.
You have to have a split tongue to pronounce it properly.
That was close.
It's a good name for an album, not to be mistaken for that Murphy Hamilton though.
We'll also be playing that track in full at the very end of the podcast, so stick around and you'll hear that right at the very end. So, first things first, albums this year so far, for like 6 months, just past 6 months of the year, and there's been too many albums out this year.
Albumed out my tits.
That would be a phrase, aye. So what do you think? First things first, I think we're going to talk about Gojira. I think that's probably
Best album in the world ever written ever.
well, I was going to say it's a pretty good album, aye.
I agree with a lot of your review, Mikey. Yeah,
That's good.
I thought it was. It's probably the best album I've heard this year so far, I would say.
I would agree with that. That's why I wanted to review it, because when I listened to the last Gojira album, the Flesh one, what's it called?
The Way of All
The Way of All
Flesh.
Flesh.
The Way of All Flesh. Aye, I wasn't impressed, because the last good thing they did was Mars to Sirius, which was a good album, but was,
Flawless album, in my opinion.
no, it is a flawless album, but I still wouldn't say it was as good as the one they've just released, L'Enfant Sauvage, or The
I
Wild
like the way that
Child.
you say it. Say it again.
L'Enfant Sauvage. Oh, yeah. Les Sexual, no?
Yeah. So that's Gojira's fifth album. One thing that was really surprising about this, I read a wee interview with the Gojira singer, guitarist, and he said on this album they use drop C tuning on this album. How ridiculous is that?
I
How
think
heavy that
that's,
album
I
sounds.
think that's
Drop
a new.
C.
That might even be like a new low tuning for them because I think they've used
It was,
drop
aye.
D
Aye.
and
Drop
C
D
sharp and
beforehand,
stuff.
aye.
Aye.
That's just mental.
It is mental because they're one of the heaviest sounding bands on the planet, and it just, I mean, you know, obviously the thing you do normally is if you want to be heavy, you tune low,
Yeah.
but they've managed to actually achieve, so you know, without tuning low. But also, somebody told me at one point or another, I don't know if this is true or no, but do the guitarists tune to different tunings?
I'm not sure.
I don't know either. This
I'm
could
sure.
just be.
In
This
his
could just
interview,
be.
he did mention that they come up with a lot of kind of weird chords to create these kind of discordant kind of tracks that they make. Like, but drop C is just
Aye, but that's amazingly impressive for what you can achieve without having to tune into like 8-string guitar F or something like that. You know?
Aye, totally. I know that's what when I listen to the album, just that rush of just awesomeness. That first track just sets up the whole album. The explosion, I think. I don't know if that's. Well, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but see from that.
We can maybe drop the French, boys. We don't even need to do this whole thing in French.
No, Français, les salons fantastique, no. Mid-section, see that coda, that first song, that whole end section, man, is just hair tingling on the back of the neck, tastic. It's just the best sound ever. In fact, if see that bit in Terminator when he's fixing himself and you see all the things moving inside his arm,
Yes,
and that when he's see if that was to make a noise, it would sound like Gojira. Telling you, I can't say enough good things about the album. It's the best album I've heard in a long time.
So what was interesting was Dave Duncan, you both found it to be kind of full on, You said it was really, really kind of.
It's not my favourite album of the year. It's certainly up there. I don't think it's Gojira's best album. I still think From Mars to Cyrus is our best album.
I actually
I
think
think it's dynamically. I think it's a dynamically better album. I think there's. It's nothing to take away from the new album. The new album is probably the heaviest thing I've heard this year, and you've got to take into account Meshuggah have also released an album this year. So any band that can essentially out heavy Meshuggah
Was it
are heavy as
Drop
fuck.
C?
And Drop C as
Drop
well.
like-
The thing I thought about it was like they literally had, because they're well established now and their sound so well established now. If that had been the first Gojira album I'd ever heard, then hands down 5, amazing, you know, completely mind blowing. But because I've heard what they can do in previous albums,
You're holding them a
in
bit.
terms, in terms of building up like layers of atmosphere before crushing you, it was almost as if they opted to not do as much as that, and then what you're left with is an album which just punishes you. It's like getting punched constantly for like
See, it's interesting
the
you say
full
that.
time.
That's not what I found about it, actually. I mean, I've listened to it, you know, a couple of times now, and I found it to be really, really well balanced. I thought they did a good job of having songs that kind of slowed down, kind of quieter bits in it. I thought it was a really well balanced album. I didn't actually like the title track. That was the only reason I wouldn't have given it a 5. I would have given it a 4.5.
No, the singer, I can't even remember his name now.
Joseph Duplantis.
Duplantis, that's
the one.
he himself had said though that this wasn't anything. You can't hold this album in the same par as Mars to Cyrus only because it's a more spiritual album.
Yeah, oh no.
It was the way they were thinking about it. I mean, this is coming from a guy that helped create the Cavalera Conspiracy. What a dick! But I'm not even going to go there. But the fact is that just that whole level of musical, I suppose, I don't know what it is.
It's difficult.
It's a
though.
parallel track, guys. It's almost as if they haven't done anything heavier than Mars to Cyrus, but it's not better than that album by any. It's just different.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to come out as a band and say, you know, this is a standalone work of art. This is a standalone album, and basically, you know, it has to be completely taking its own merits and not think about previous work they've done. I think that's difficult. And it's not that I think it's easily one of my favourite albums of the year. I'll be surprised if it doesn't end up in my top 5 at the end of the year, because it is that good. I just don't. It just didn't. There's just something about it which makes me think that, you know, it could have been better. It could have been better, and I certainly, I'm with Mark. I would give it a 4.5 out of 5. But the whole point of the website, the different reviewers, is that you're going to get these, and I'm pretty sure with the rest of the ones on the list we have to go through, we will have people that'll talk very impassioned about why they think certain bands are the second coming, and why other ones think they're not.
I see something else interesting about Gojira is they've actually jumped to release because they had recorded an EP called, I think it was called
That's
From
right.
the Sea.
That's
right.
correct.
But the hard drive they'd recorded it on had become corrupted or something like that, so it never saw the light of day. And I would have been really interested to hear that because
Had that
Yeah.
one song though with Devin Townsend and
That's right,
is it
yeah.
Frederick Thorndall?
that's right. I think you were on it. Aye.
Cool. Aye, so Gojira, big release.
You,
Awesome.
you have to check
It's
it out.
a must listen.
I think most
Yes.
folk were in agreement that we all liked
You
it. Yeah.
have to check it out.
Yeah.
If
Cool.
you're a metal fan and you cared about what metal should sound like in 2012, then Gojira is probably the first album you should pick
Yeah.
up.
Okay. Next one on the list we have is Diablo Swing Orchestra from Sweden.
Yes.
Brand new album called Pandora's Pinata. Third album from this band. What are we all thinking about Diablo Swing Orchestra? Baz,
Well-
let's switch to you, big man.
Thanks, Dave. As you know, I had the pleasure of reviewing this for the website. This album utterly blew my mind. I loved this album.
Yeah.
For the minute I put it on, I struggled really hard to classify it. Unlike Dunk there, I'm not totally clued up on all my genre classifications. I went with back to the French again. I went with avant-garde metal because that's what it said in the press release. I don't like that term for them. I think it's misleading. I think a lot of metal fans could put this album on and really not like it at all. I've got to say, you do, as I said in the review, you need quite a kind of broad sense of appreciation, if you like, to get into this. I just loved every song was different. There is metal there if you look hard enough later on, particularly in the album.
There's even screaming vocals at one point.
There is. There's operatics. There's just everything in it. But what I loved about it, it didn't just jump about for the sake of jumping about, and they didn't throw in influences and that just for throwing them in to make it a bit more weird and a bit more experimental.
Yeah.
It all flowed. Absolutely phenomenal album. For folk that haven't heard it, the nearest thing I can relate it to is Gogol Bordello, who do the kind of gypsy punk
Aye.
stuff.
Aye.
That's the only other thing I think that,
Kind of heavier version of that,
a
innit?
heavier version of that. That's the only other thing I've heard that was kind of in the ballpark. Love this album. If you get a chance to listen to it, give it a listen.
I just heard it for the first time this morning before I came here. I thought it was awesome.
Isn't it? It's a really good album, and it's a jump on from their last two as well. 'Cause I don't know if you listened to their other two. They've got two other albums. One called Sing Along Songs for the Damned and the Delirious, and the one before that was the Butcher's Ballroom, which are slightly different because I know it starts off quite big band at the beginning of that album,
Yep.
but then it kind of veers off a wee bit. And there's the guy that does the solo singing, it takes it away from the woman a wee bit. But their other albums
Aye.
are completely different. So you get three albums, you get three different completely sounds, but. We're having a swing band at our wedding, so we were thinking about having them.
Absolutely.
Why not? You know?
That'd be awesome, right? The other thing was when I was looking at the kind of the press pack you sent me, I was looking at the photos. Is there actually only 8 people in the band? Eight people. Is that it?
I think
Well,
so.
so,
Because
yeah.
I'm listening to it and I'm hearing guitars, bass, drums, vocals, horn sections, violins, fucking electric organs, right, whatever, right? And I'm going, this must be like 20 folk or something. And then I seen the photos, 8 people, so
7.
7. There's 7.
Aye. Not quite American Head Charts, but 7.
I'm really impressed with what they did anyway. And I'd be interested to find out about how they did the writing process. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yep, so that was Diablo Swing Orchestra, Pandora's Pinata. The album is out now, so check that one out. Oh god, the next one on our list.
Jesus.
This is just to give a bit of background on this. Our man Duncan reviewed this next album, and he gave it the lowest score
Still a low score, I think, isn't it?
on Rock and
Yes,
Roll Reviews
indeed.
ever.
Justifiably
And that
low
was a
score.
half out of 5. The band were called The Bunny the Bear, and the album is called The Stomach for It. It's the third album from this band, and they term their music post-hardcore.
Yeah. I
So,
don't think they know what
I'm going to let Duncan talk about this for a wee second because I know he's dying to talk about it.
Tell us about the electronic core band.
All opinions expressed are the opinions of Duncan. Before we get any more death threats.
Well, it's just complete arse gravy, isn't it? It's just fucking awful. It's an absolute horrendous. This is what my gripe. Cause we've actually just put up a review of a not completely dissimilar band called Abandon All Ships, which the boss man Dave had a chance to review, and in a lot of respects are very similar, except they've got better production. It's just I like bands that are a melting pot of different styles and different ideas, but you need to know when to use them and when not to use them. And the problem with the Bunny the Bear is they have lots of different elements. They're not particularly good at any of them, but they throw them all in at once. The production on the album's awful. Vocals, I don't know what's going on with them. You can sometimes not hear the guitars at all. I'm pretty sure they are supposed to be there. It's just a horrible representation of where we are in it's 2012. You've got bands like Gojira releasing fucking albums which are, life changing, and in the same year you get this, and it's on the complete other side of the spectrum. It's just absolutely horrendous. I couldn't even go as far as to say I could find one redeeming feature about the release.
I would just like to say I'm in complete and utter disagreement with you. I listened to the album last night.
Are you joking?
No, I'm not. I'm absolutely blown away with it. Honestly, all joking aside, no bullshit. I listened to the album start to finish, and I thought, were they actually listening to the same album I was listening to? I thought it was fucking amazing.
I would have to answer that no.
You weren't listening to the same album.
I mean, my taste in music's not as heavy as perhaps Duncan's and Dave's and Mark's, and that is. And I hadn't heard this, I hadn't had a chance to listen to it, and I read Duncan's review in advance, which maybe tainted my opinion, but I went straight away after reading that and listened to it, and it is shit. It is absolutely awful.
I'm amazed
they've
at
put in
everybody
stuff to... It's exactly the opposite of what I was saying about Diablo Swing Orchestra. They have thrown things in for the sake of throwing them in, and none of it works, none of it hangs together. It was fucking dreadful.
It's so funny how
Mark,
different you can have distinct opposite impressions of the same CD.
The thing is, though, they have quite a big following at the moment. I mean, they're on a decent record label. It's not a major label, but it's one of the bigger kind of labels just now putting out metal music in America, and they have a hardcore following. I couldn't get I listened to it 3 times. Because I listened to it the first time, my process approaching these things is listen to an album once all the way through, and I tend to have an opinion if I want to review it or not. And the second time I listen to it is generally to get a feel, some ideas of what I'm going to write about, and then I actually listen to it track by track while I actually write my review. So I had to listen to it 3 times, and I can assure you by the end of the third one, I was actually reading back my review thinking maybe I haven't actually gone as far as I wanted to. And honestly, and I don't want to come across, I actually wrote in my review that I would much rather spend my time and energy reviewing bands that I really do think deserve. I mean, there's a lot of bands that don't have the privilege of being on certain record labels that are putting out phenomenal albums this year. 12 Bore's a prime example of a fantastic release that I liked, in my opinion, but I really liked. They're not on a record label, they're putting their album out for nothing, or their EP, sorry, out for nothing, just to generate a bit of support. And the Bunny the Bear have got this massive marketing machine behind them that are putting it out, and I just couldn't, maybe it is just my opinion, but I like music. If you listen to it, if you check my record collection, there are a lot of bands that I like.
So surprised you didn't like
yeah,
it.
there's a lot of bands I like which mix shitloads of things that maybe shouldn't go together that really do. I just think in the case of this one, I listened to it and it didn't grab me, and I just felt like it felt like the synths were too loud all the way through it. I'm a synth player. I should want to always hear the synths. It was far too loud. The production is just not that great, and it's not post-hardcore. If you listen to if you follow, it's not hardcore of any kind. And to call yourself post-hardcore, I think it's very far removed what I would want to listen to. I'm actually surprised that you liked it, Mark. But at the same
I think
time,
I would come in the middle
good
there.
to.
I can see why you didn't like it, but I can also see why you maybe liked it. I wanted to like it, but I couldn't, because it's the vocals that do in my head, and as a vocalist, that's where my problem lies. It's the same problem I have with Periphery, but not that the band's bad, but I think the band could be better, because I know they say what wound me up about the Bunny the Bear was, and I found out they said something along the lines of that the employed screamed vocals and clean vocals are similar to that of your man Claudio Sanchez for
Really?
Coheed Cambria.
Aye.
What? Really?
And then I read that and I was kind of like, and then I listened to the album and I thought, oh aye, they were clearly doing some glue. What's going on there? I mean, there's other bands that are similar to them. The Alaya wrote the symphony, Ovaries, Drop Dead, and Gorgeous. If you listen to either of those bands, they can achieve what the Bunny the Bear wants to do.
Yeah.
But they're just awful. He's more interested in his image. If you watch the video, especially.
More interested in his image
the
than he was
rabbit
on Max.
faces.
Yeah, that's interesting. When I watched that video that you posted in the review,
The video was
it
really
put
cool.
me off. Put me off. Well, actually, it
right.
put me off. I was like, this is crap, right? And then, but I listened to the album, and what I liked about it was I really, really liked the melodic vocalist. I thought he's got a completely original voice, and I could sit and listen to it all day, and I will be listening to it multiple times this album.
there you go.
And as I was listening to it, I was thinking, how does Duncan know like that? I was thinking, if you hadn't heard it, I'd be thinking Duncan will be getting told about this, he'll love it, and really I couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really, really enjoyed it, and I thought that one thing that does my head in is the guy that kind of does the screaming. I think
His vocals are different.
goes through like a fucking dose of salts. Right? It does. It's there's nothing musical about what the screaming end it's doing. I don't think because it's not even good tonality to it. But the melodic vocalist, I thought he was awesome, and I really liked. I thought the songs were varied enough. I'll be getting multiple listens, and I say this without a hint of jest. That's in my top 3 albums that I've heard so far this year. All joking aside, I would have given it a 4 or a push a 4.5.
Right, well, listen to Linkin Park then.
Okay, moving on. I think I could probably sit and talk about the album for multiple hours.
Sit and argue with Mark about that album for multiple hours.
We're going to be on the other side of this on this next one here because I get the feeling that me and you're the only two that got this album.
I think so, yeah. The next one on our list is a UK band, and the band is called Conan, and they released their first kind of full-length album this year called Monos. They released a couple of EPs before that, but this was their first full-length, and I think they're from Liverpool actually. Conan. It's kind of sludgy, kind of doom stuff. Just a 3-piece, but I reviewed the album obviously on the site, and actually I couldn't get enough of it. I've listened to it at least 20 times.
Can I ask sorry, on you go.
Am I right in saying it's still at the moment the only album you've given a...
It's the only album I've given a 5
5 stars to.
The only album this year
That's
so
what I
far.
was going to ask. What was it? What did you actually like about it? What was it
Well,
that grabbed you for it?
I like the fact that they're UK bands. Firstly, I think it's good to get some stuff from the UK. I think this album is completely created around the riffs. I think that's their strongest part or asset in this band. The riffs I think are absolutely superb. When it comes to the kind of doom, kind of sludge stuff, I think they've got it nailed absolutely. I also like the fact that there's 90% of it is all clean vocals. There's a very I think at the end of the first track the guy starts to actually do a bit of screaming and stuff, but it's all kind of melodic, quite haunting kind of sounding vocals.
Which is classic doom. Doom should have the vocals are supposed to be not the abrasive part of the band. The music itself is supposed to be the downer, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was only, I think it's only 6 tracks. It is kind of classed as an album, but it's quite quick to kind of get through. But I just find it really listenable. I could listen to it all day long. I absolutely love it.
I'm in the complete opposite.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Just the same as just the opposite of what happened. Well, the same thing I suppose what happened with the last conversation with the Bunny the Bear.
Yeah.
This is probably the worst thing I've heard this year, Conan, in my opinion. I was listening to it in the car. You gave me it, and I know you thought it was going to be up my street. And
I thought you liked sludge and doom
well,
stuff.
I do.
Do you?
Sometimes, aye.
I don't think you do.
Well, I like the crowbar sort of side of the kind of doom sludge stuff with the kind of the melody behind it as well. But whenever it started, I was going, right, when does it actually get where did the riffs come in? What's going on here? And then when the guy actually started screaming, he's the only singer I've heard that I think is worse than the guy that screams for the Bunny the Bear. He does my head fucking right in. And I listened to the full thing, and I was going, right, I don't know why I didn't like this so much, and obviously but then again, just like the grime review, as I said, the grime review, and I know it's really similar musically, and I just can't get my head into it at all. I just don't know.
Right.
I'm the same. I don't do sludge at all. I can't get my head around it at all. It's so slow, it's so boring, it's so doomy.
How do you classify like sludge versus doom versus crust?
Do you know what? I fucking hate these subgenres. It's metal all at the end of the day. It's guys with beards and long hair jumping about with guitars making noise. It's metal. But in this case, Conan, what's the other mob?
Grime.
Crowbar and
Crowbar. I love Crowbar.
I mean, I reviewed their album on the radio when that came out. That their
Full Sever
last
the
year.
Wicked Hand.
Aye, and to me, it just sounds like a raccoon trying to get out a wheelie bin.
Really?
See, I'm amazed you
I
thought, because I
love
loved it.
that
I thought it was brilliant.
No,
It
I
was
just,
one of the
I
best
just don't
songs
get
ever.
it. It's just every track sounds
This
the
is going to come
same.
with blows in a minute. Like.
Aye, it's just I don't know. See, Sludge or Doom
Punches,
or
no, the
whatever,
other kind of
it kinda, it's like I don't know. It's like it's like ZZ Top, but even more shit. I don't know. I can't even coin why I don't like it. It's just that Conan. I tried to listen to it, and it took ages for the first song to get into it, and I'm kind of like, where are they going with this?
I'd never heard the Sludge until Dave reviewed the Conan one. I think I downloaded the Conan album, I hadn't got around to listening to it. I read Dave's review again, went straight away and listened to it. Never heard anything like it in my life. I've got to say, I wasn't a fan, but I didn't hate it in the way that I hated the Bunny. The Bunny the Bear offended me. It really did. Conan didn't. I can see the talent there. You know, the songwriting and that. It does not appeal to me at all. And since then, there's been a couple other albums that I would have considered the same kind of genre. That Black Moth one was a great album.
It's
I quite
on
enjoyed that.
on the more commercial side.
And Black Sheep Wall as well.
Oh, yeah.
And it was palatable, it was okay. Conan, it's like an extreme version of these bands.
Right.
It was really far out there. Couldn't get it at all. And I played it, interestingly, a few folk at work, some of the guys in work I was talking about it. Now these guys that aren't into metal, they said they'd never heard anything like it. And they didn't understand how you could actually sit and listen to it, never mind give it 5 stars. By their own admission, they weren't metal fans of any description, right enough. It didn't do it for me, Conan. I would never say they're a bad, you know, they're shit. I wouldn't say that to them. I think they've got a talent there. And they're massive and they're huge and beat the crap out of me.
They're big guys. Yeah.
That seems to be an attributable factor, I think.
It does,
You look
yeah.
at the guys from Crowbar or even Down.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you
Well, the
wouldn't
same
mess-
guys, some of them.
You know, exactly. You wouldn't mess with any of them.
No.
I do like the sludgy kind of riff, and I mean, one of the things I loved about that 12 board to bring them in again,
they have a sludge
do that
influence.
sludge kind of influence, but they've got a groove to it,
Kenny
and, that, and
Sullivan
it's
stuff, eh?
fucking brilliant. Yeah, exactly. Conan was just too much for me. I think to me that's real extreme metal.
I agree about it, but I think I like the concept, and I think that's probably what you liked about it. The idea, it's just like 3 guys stripped back to fuck, and they've just went, right, let's just knock some fucking tracks out, and that's what they've done. And I understand they approached it, just didn't do it for me, but I know it did for you.
Yep.
You're not
No,
in
not
it.
for me.
What did you think?
I absolutely loved it.
Did you?
Actually, I was actually supposed to be reviewing it before Dave, and Dave stole it from me. So, and it was getting 5 from me as well. So, I absolutely love it. It kind of links into the next topic because just now there's a lot of genres kind of rearing their head back in, which maybe had their heyday maybe over a decade ago, or maybe even longer than that. And Doom and Sludge, I've come back, especially in the last 2 years. Huge kind of resurgence and the sound, and there's a lot of bands coming. It's funny how many UK bands are actually starting to take what is essentially a very American sound, the kind of sludge thing, and adapting it and taking the kind of almost the Scandinavian kind of doom influence. It's like bands like Ghost have kind of made doom cool again, even though they're a more retro version of it. And just from reviewing, just from the stuff that's come through this year, through the old email system and the rock and reels, there's a lot of doom and a lot of sludge now back, and it's almost as if it's a rebellion against the precise kind of technical production and writing of like your gent bands, which we will get onto coming down. It's almost like the exact opposite. It's like
It's like they're saying, fuck you, we're just going to do it simple.
as,
But the
and
precursor to the sludge though hasn't been kept though. I mean, Leonard Skinner was classed as a sludge band back in the day. I mean, you're looking at
Were they?
1986.
Free birds and that.
Aye. Free bird.
That was my impression of Conan.
I wrote down a few lists of the bands. You know, the precursor, along with like Black Flag, Black Sabbath. You know, Mississippi John, Greg Gin, Trouble Carnivore, Saint, Vitus, Gore, Righteous Pigs, Ambix. You know, they were all the precursors for sludge.
St. Vitus have got. I've reviewed their new album, and it's funny how a lot of these things are bands that haven't released things in 10 years, but now because Doom is now fairly back in vogue, these bands are now making they've reformed and released an album, and it was an excellent album. Once again, it had that sort of retro feel to it, but I I mean, it's like it's almost like what's happened is that these bands are taking the influences of, you know, a lot before, using the modern productions, but still not. It's not being tweaked in Pro Tools or, you know, quantized or all the rest. They sound like, it sounds very earthy. You know, there's like, it's a really sort of kind of sweaty, damp, sort of fucking horrible, dingy, mossy room feel about them.
Totally, yeah.
And I love that. And it's funny because I never used to, and now I can't get enough of it. And whereas before, maybe even 4 or 5 years ago, my tastes were, you know, it had to be polished and it had to be, you know, incredibly well produced and all the rest. And I find myself now kind of moving away from that. I don't know if that's an age thing or not. I mean, I'm surrounded by guys similar ages who have all got different takes in it, but I find myself now gravitating towards, I want to hear bands that
Sound
that
organic.
actually, if they're fucking angry, I want to hear them sound angry. If they're, you know, if they're passionate about something, I want to hear that. And the more you quantize, the more you produce bands, the more you strip that away, the less the person sounds like it, and the more machine-like it
But
sounds.
everybody's moving along in a sort of
That's right.
continental drift. You know,
Yeah.
Sludge is making a movement now, the same way thrash has died a wee bit. You know,
Yeah.
you can't tell me a good thrash band that's out just now that's making, you know, the noises. Let's say, I don't know, Pantera did back in the day. You know,
Not Rumpelstiltskin Grinder anyway.
well, but I mean, what you're saying is with Sludge is that it's because you've got southern sludge.
Yeah.
You know, like, I suppose
Crowbar.
Dims,
I know,
like,
kind of, but even Baroness, I know you did gig
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
classed as a sludge
Yeah,
band as well.
their new album certainly done well. Their new double album
Which
certainly
sludge
not
metal,
sludge,
you know,
but the previous stuff's very Mastodon as well.
Well, I was going to say you're a
Mastodon's-
massive Mastodon fan. It's you know, Cancer Bats, you know, Mistress, Will Haven has even been coined as sludge. So I don't know. It's like you take a genre and then you just take your wee bit off the side. That's where, you know, you got your progressive metal, you've got metal core and spaz core and gay core, Safeway core. I mean,
Apple core.
they're all there. But it's
One of
each
the-
their own.
One of the releases I was listening to last night, actually, which is a kind of timely one, considering what you've just been saying, Duncan, was that Coven album,
Oh yeah.
Worship New Gods. Now, I was reading the blurb that came with that. It was released in 1987, kind of at the time of the first breaking of thrash and all that, but it's got a real doom feel to it as well. And they're an American band, which is surprising because they sound much more European, or the ilk of the European bands of that time, kind of thing. But a lot of what you were saying there about the sound and the production and that,
Yeah.
if you've not heard that one yet, go and listen to that because it's all there, and that was 20 odd years ago.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
it just seems to be it's resurgence, and it goes to show that every now and again you get these articles that come out and say that, you know, rock and metal it's dying, and, you know, dance and pop and hip hop or whatever, you know, these are the new things. And since doing the thing is though, I follow a lot of kind of, well, I follow a lot of releases on things, you know, read magazines which are all centered around our world and music. And the funny thing about it is that regardless how many they're covering, you know, reviewing or whatever, it doesn't really even take a small kind of pie slice of how much music's actually out there and how much exciting music's out there. Cancer Bats for me is probably the best album this year still. What? I absolutely love that album. I think it's flawless.
Listen, all y'all, this is Sabotage.
Yeah. I think it's an absolute flawless album.
Other than
and
they take the piss of the Beastie Boys cover.
That was the previous album. So
Was
doesn't
it?
count.
Oh, right,
So
fair enough.
the thing about it is they've mixed everything in. It sounds brilliant, but they take elements out with, and it's like melting pots of hardcore, sludge, doom. It's all there, and it works for me. But looking down the list here, I mean, hardcore's coming back, and this gent thing's about as big as anything just now in metal. It's huge. It is huge. It's the new.
Oh, it's a hybrid of tech metal.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the new thing.
Fear Factory founded that backbone, as far as I'm concerned. You're bound to agree with me on that one.
Well, this brings me to a section that I like to call Mark's Minute. This genre that's been, you know, just blown up massively now. But there's a lot of bands out there that are calling themselves gent. I don't actually think they know where the term comes from.
What is the term, Mark, and what does it mean?
Explain it to me because I still don't have a fucking clue.
I'll tell you guys. I'll be happy to tell you. So basically, gent is the sound. It's onomatopoeia, right? it's like a word like smash or bang, right? It's supposed to sound like the sound that gets made, right? And what happens is, it's a guitar term specifically, and when you're playing power chords, instead of just kind of, you know, just chugging away like you normally would in metal, if you kind of move your hand a wee bit away from the bridge and use 4 strings for the power chords instead of 2, it gets this kind of jig, jig, this kind of much more metallic, kind of sharp sounding kind of power chords. That's gent. That's where it comes from. That's the name, the term.
It's actually been included in the dictionary now.
Has it really?
Yes. The word gent is an onomatopoeia for the distinctive high-gain, distorted, palm-muted guitar sound employed by Meshuggah. Typically, the word is used to refer to the music that makes the use of the sound to the sound itself, or to the scene that revolves around it.
Did you read that before you came?
Amen to that, brother.
Yeah.
We're
doing high fives over here.
No,
Is that Wikipedia?
But that is what it is. But the thing is, it's kind of folded over now into a genre, right? So a lot of these bands now, Periphery, Tesseract, Monuments, and 9 million other bands are calling themselves gent. And
I think the fans are calling them gent.
well, that's right. I don't. You're absolutely right. Not necessarily the bands themselves.
Because I mean, Sixth were technically a gent band as well before gent had been coined, I would say. You know,
Yeah.
Meshuggah's been around for 20 years as well.
But let's think that I think Meshuggah were the first people who done it. Right? I think they're the first people who done it.
Oh,
I don't
totally.
think they've ever referred to themselves as gent. I
No,
don't
no.
think even really
I think
associate
he
themselves
coined the
with.
phrase, Frederick Thornton.
I think
Thorndal.
did
It was him. He coined the phrase. It was.
Right.
I think he was trying to explain to somebody
I thought it was
the Meshuggah noise.
The bloke for Periphery.
Misha.
Aye.
Aye, well,
Because that's him first. Who I first heard talking about it anyway in an interview and stuff. But what I say, it's folded over into this kind of genre of things, and it's become this kind of sort of staccato, you know, sort of playing riffs on one string, stopping really quickly, and you know, it's kind of hard to describe without an audio clip. But if you go into YouTube and if you type in what is gent or gent, right, you'll get, you know, 9 million videos will come up saying 9 million seems to be my favourite word, favourite number now. If I have to assign a numerical value to how good the One of the Bear album is, I'd give it 9 million. But
so the 9 million videos of Mark playing gent riffs on YouTube, basically.
Gent covers of the One of the Bear songs. But
basically, gent, if you need to be able to count to 8, he's out.
One video, if you type just gent into YouTube, the 5th or 6th one down in the list that comes up is this guy. His name's James Pohl, and he plays in a band called Districts, and he's done a cover this R&B song by Chris Brown called "Look at Me Now." I have no time for R&B at all, but he's done like a what he calls a gent cover of it. But this cover that he's done is all the genre of gent rather than the guitar sound of gent. But he does a really good cover of it. It's really interesting, and you should check out and have a listen to it. Yeah. Am I explaining it right, Barry?
No, I do kind of get it. I knew it was to do with this guitar sound just for talking to you guys about it before, kind of thing. But I don't know, with the volume of material that we're getting in for the website now to review, I've got less sort of time to review, so I kind of tend to pick and choose my albums a bit more. And if anything comes through as gen is really bad, I just ignore it because I know you guys are big into it. So I just leave it for you. You know what you're talking about.
I would probably want to more coin it as a mathematical metal, because of the weird time signatures. Right. I mean, although you hear when you listen to the drums are always in 4/4, always in 4/4. But it's a guitar that kind of skips in and out, and this can, like Vela Maya, they're classed as a gent band, I suppose, but they don't sound anything like all the other guys in their genre. So I don't like the term gent, and you get really upset with it. But it's the same as the way Sludge and Doom and all these other names.
It's the new metal thing all over again.
It is new
metal. We were
metal.
talking about this before the
New
podcast,
metal.
but it is essentially the
That's what I'm
new
calling
metal.
it. New metal.
Essentially, I got a chance to review the Sky Harbor album, which is
amazing.
Basic. And Basic seemed to be the home at the moment for a lot of the kind of the gent movement, and they've been pushing it for a while now, and it's obviously starting to take off. And I didn't think I would. It's not that I have anything against gent. There's a couple of bands that I do like. I feel very much like what Mark was saying. A lot of bands get lumbered in, and they shouldn't be lumbered in at all. And you have a preconceived conception of what it should sound like, and then you hear it and you go, "That's not gent." You know what I mean? You listen to it, and the band might still be okay, but you know, why put that tagline on it? Is it the record label trying to capitalise on a sound that's on the way up? But
it's a buzzword. A buzzword makes money.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Sky Harbor album for all the reasons which are probably not the gent reasons. I thought, like, in terms of atmosphere and that the build-ups to different synth parts, the electronics, inclusion of electronics, which seems to be inwards sort of thing into kind of modern gent. is that this kind of inclusion of electronic loops as well. I loved that side of it, the kind of djenty side itself, the actual guitars, etc.
It's a byproduct.
It was there to make the bits that needed to be heavy, but the overall sound, it fit very well within the overall sound. I wouldn't say that they're a pure djent band though. At
You're
all.
right though. It
has djent elements.
its original meaning though is a heavily digitally processed power chord.
Yeah.
Basically the djent sound, and it's the same for elastic syncopated guitar riffs that are, it's all to do with virtuoso soloing and polyrhythms.
I mean, the
And,
guitarists, some of these guitarists, like you were talking about Misha from Periphery. I mean, a lot of these guys start off in their bedroom with a camera, showing, look, I've created a sound,
Which he
and this
did.
is what,
That's where he started.
and they get a fan base from there, and then the band comes round from that.
Aye.
And it's fantastic. A lot of this
exactly
is
what
done
happened,
in bedrooms.
well, it used to be DIY. It was referred to
Yeah.
back in the day, you know.
But
these
to imagine, a
post-hardcore
lot of these
bands.
bands have started off from nothing more than a really talented guitarist sitting in a bedroom recording videos and getting a following from that, and building on that the kind of the avocation of the internet, making it into such a commercially huge. I mean, it is massive now. There's no publication that you lift which covers metal at the moment. Well, the exception of probably the ones that aren't really metal now. We won't mention their names. But you lift them
Begins
up.
with a K.
Yeah, you lift them. There will be some article on a djent band. There has to be, because if it's not there, it's not really covering what's relevant at the moment.
It's just funny that they called it that though, because I know the guys from the band Rosetta said, "Why don't you just call doom metal done?"
That's essentially what it sounds like.
You're just taking the guitar now, and like, I suppose, why don't you just call Axl Rose a cunt?
See, to
He
jump
did a
back,
face plant on stage the other day.
Aye, it was funny.
just to jump back in what Duncan was saying there then about a lot of this was started with guitarists and so on. As the only musician in the room, as the only non-musician in the room, sorry. That was a bit of a Freudian slip, wasn't it?
Oh really? Do tell.
As the only non-musician in the room, would you say that you have to be a musician to appreciate a lot of this music? For instance, for me, I've never got Mastodon. I appreciate what they do. It doesn't appeal to me. I know Dave gave me a couple of their albums a few years ago to listen to. I've just never got that band.
I agree with you, Barry.
There's a lot of people don't get.
Aye.
For a band as large as they are, there's a lot of people.
I
That
think
There's a
don't.
lot of bands
And
like
it's not.
that.
It's not music. It's not.
See, I don't get Tool.
I love to.
You know, and every time I say it, people are, what? You know, it's like saying I didn't really like Nirvana either. You know, but I appreciate what they did, what they created, what they, you know, and I appreciate what Tool does. The same way Mastodon. It's the same way when people think about progressive metal. They say, "Oh, I don't really like Dream Theater and all that arty-farties." But you go way back. I mean, I love Genesis. You know, but not everybody
Million
likes
bands like that.
You know, but
Proper
that's progressive.
real prog,
you know, real
Yeah.
prog. You know, and bands like White Lion or Yes that, you know.
Just to tie in kind of what we're saying there about djent, like, I mean, that new Periphery album, I think it sounds less djent than
Aye,
than,
I agree,
than what they've done before.
It sounds more
you know,
pop.
and more and I would say it's just soon more progressive in a lot of ways. They've kind of tried to branch out their sound and go, well, we're not really wanting to get saddled with that. We'll try and subtly sort of shove things in this direction.
I was chatting with. Well, I suppose we can mention her. I was chatting with Lisa, who works for Basic, and obviously they have Tesseract on their label, and they're considered one of the forefathers of the genre as well, the kind of modern sound. And she was saying, funnily enough, at the time I didn't really pay much attention to the point she was trying to make. She was saying a lot of bands that are the integral originators of the genre, not going far back as Meshuggah, but she was saying that they're dropped because it's becoming, they're moving more towards a kind of proggy sound. And I was like, oh, right, whatever. I'm sure that's what they're doing. It wasn't until I heard the Periphery album, I was like, well, maybe there is something here. But I think, you'll know as a guitarist, do you feel that, I mean, you need to be able to do kind of progressive sort of, you need to have a kind of progressive mentality to play something like djent? Is that a kind of...
Not necessarily. I think it's, you know, as I say, YouTube's fallen victim of this thing. You turn it on, there's 9 million people on it, just showing you this is djent, and here's me playing djent, and here's me doing a cover of this guy who did a djent cover of something else. And I don't think it's that tied into prog, but I think the good bands, you know, Periphery, I would probably say are one of them. You know, I think they're heavily prog influenced. You know, I mean, these Misha Mansour's went on record a few times talking about John Petrucci and
I think the
people
Dream Theater tour did wonders
I
on
think
that album,
aye.
actually.
There is a clear, distinct separation, and Barry, you're probably the better person to be able to witness it. See if you were to listen to Tesseract, and then even, I would say, like Periphery, take Tesseract, Sky Harbor, anybody like that, and then take Periphery, I'm trying to think of somebody, maybe Viljata or
They're a great
Uneven
example of
Structure
genuine
or something like that.
band.
And then Vela Maya, Glass Cloud. You know, there's 3 distinct separate types. They're all classed as gent. I don't
Aye.
believe that they are. I mean,
No.
Tesseract and bands like that are more progressive as far as, you know, that kind of nice sweeping sounds, clean
Yeah.
vocals, not a lot of screaming going on,
Yeah.
but ambience and
Partly to do
just,
with the production as well, though, I think. That
well,
that's
exactly. I
how
mean,
they get-
that gent sound. I mean,
There's
that's
no middle. It's
Meshuggah.
just treble and bass, basically.
It's
and
another
that gives you the
separate,
sound.
exactly,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that dun dun dun. It's just that really heavy,
Aye.
offbeaty, weird time signature that I don't. Nobody covers Meshuggah because they're the only ones that can play it.
Yeah.
One band that's usually Meshuggah, and that's
That's
Meshuggah.
sugar.
Aye. So if you never hear anybody saying, "Aye, they sound something like Meshuggah." Nobody sounds anything like Meshuggah. Right. Nobody
No.
sounds like
They
Meshuggah.
try and they fail. They'll never.
Meshuggah didn't even sound like Meshuggah.
No.
And all read,
They
all
sound like a
roads,
cheap Meshuggah rip-off.
Exactly.
and all roads lead from Meshuggah and back to Meshuggah, and therefore nothing.
The circle of Meshuggah.
Yeah, so that's a bit on genres and their up in the music industry at the moment. Sludge and doom and a bit of hardcore and gent is also a big one at the moment.
Could have been porno we're talking about, in fairness.
Could be.
You know, sludge and doom and hardcore.
Yeah, next on the agenda we've got quite a good one here: reissues, remasters, and deluxe editions.
All pish.
Oh, pish, thanks for your.
Then I agree.
Next point.
I think.
Well, I suppose
I think there is
There's
good
kind of
and
a place
bad
for it. Yeah.
versions
Kind of
of
a
this.
place.
I think one that happened recently, which I disagreed with, was a deluxe edition. That was the Gajira album. They released their new album, L'Enfant Sauvage, and I think it was
Sauvage.
L'Enfant. Okay. They released their new album. I think it was either 9 or 10 tracks long,
And then there's a deluxe
and
version.
then they released
With 2
a
bonus
deluxe.
tracks.
Yeah.
one or two.
Aye.
Aye, yeah.
And then a live CD as well.
I mean, what the fuck?
That's-
Just
I don't know what that's
fucking
about.
released the album.
And
the
then
way
they
it's meant
released
to
the
be.
DVD as well.
Aye, I picked up that one. I've no actually watched the DVD on it yet, but
I never.
I don't know. I think that used to be like just one of my Meshuggah. You're talking about Meshuggah a minute ago. My favourite Meshuggah track in the world is a song called Unanything, and it's only ever appeared on the Japanese only edition of Chaosphere,
Right.
which has never been. It wasn't even released on Rare Tracks. It wasn't released. It's like an ultra rare song. And it's brilliant. And I actually imported the fucking album,
Right.
and I've got the song, and it's amazing. But this is what I mean. Just like you say, what's the point here? I don't know if it's just to try and appeal more to a market and go, oh, look, guys, you know, buy the CD. It's brilliant in this country. You get an extra track. I don't know if that's
Maybe the
ideal,
only
is it?
Japanese get that song.
Maybe.
Are you Japanese?
Well,
Maybe that's why you like it.
maybe turning Japanese.
Japan seems to be the thing,
really-
though.
they're really
You think
big.
about how many bands have it's a Japanese release.
Aye, and a great
whether-
success in Japan.
aye,
Aye.
for some reason, I don't know if maybe it's specifically aimed at that market. Maybe the albums sell well over there that have a track which is only available.
I think it's unfair to
in-
fans.
Well, it is.
Well,
Well,
what
that's
Dave
the
just said
big-
there,
that's
yeah.
the big
Like, here's an album with 10 tracks on it, and you go out and buy it, and then you find out there's the same album and another 2 tracks on it. Like,
And
for
for
fuck's
for
sake.
£2 as well.
I know,
Well,
it's
that's 2
like
tracks.
a £1 a track. I mean, well, I don't know, like, I know,
Fuck
2
that.
for £1. I
What one
mean,
did you buy? What one did you
I,
So did I.
Because you feel like you're missing out on something. Like, oh, I better buy the deluxe one because what if these last 2 tracks are amazing?
But surely it must cost them more to manufacture 2 different versions.
Yeah.
It must double their manufacturing
The
costs.
thing is, you've got to look at it from the point of view that record sales are dropping very, very, very fast. The record industry,
Aye.
it's saying that how much of that is actually the band and how much is the record company. I mean, a lot of bands now do packages where you can buy the album, right? Buy the album, it costs you £7. However, if you spend £15, we'll give you the album, we'll give you a T-shirt. You spend £25, we'll give you a hoodie. You know, spend £30, you know, we'll
They're
throw in
having
the
to do it
vinyl.
the way.
They're having
do
to
it
come up
'cause-
with creative
right.
ways.
Yeah.
I just feel that sort of thing isn't creative as such as a slap in the face of, a slap in the face
Just a
of
slap in
a
the face.
fan who has to spend £2 to hear 2 extra songs when you can buy a song on iTunes for 79 pence.
I-
To actually buy it in hard copy form,
Yeah.
you have to spend £2 for 2 songs.
But I
It's
don't think
ridiculous.
it's always the fault of the bands because
I
it's,
don't
they're
think
at the
so,
mercy of the people that are publishing it, and they're going, well, we're going to keep
It's
these 2.
labels.
You've handed us 12 tracks, we're going to keep these 2 back and release them on a deluxe edition and charge us for it. And the band will be going, well, there's not really what we had in mind,
Yeah.
and they'll be going, well, we're doing it anyway, tough shit.
That's another thing. Like
I've
when they're coming up with the track listing for an album, and they say this will be the last track in the album because it's this and it's that, it's heavy, it's going to be a great finisher, and then they say, oh, well, actually, we're going to release another version of it with another 2 tracks on the end. What the fuck does
Well,
that mean
the
then?
only thing the opinion I've always had, the reason that they put certain tracks as bonus tracks is
Yeah.
because they don't want the album to be judged on those bonus tracks. So they say, there's the album, 10 tracks, that's the album, that's what you judge it on, that's what you review it on, which is why the press packs always come through without the bonus tracks.
Yeah.
You know, because they're saying that's the album, the bonus tracks, that's just some other tracks we've done, thought you might like them, didn't count them as part of the album. That's kind of what I thought, but what are you going to say, Barry?
I've done, since the website started up, I've done reviews of 2 reissued, remastered, deluxe versions, one of which I don't think's up on the website, the most recent one, is it?
Not yet, no.
No. But the first one I did was the Dropkick
Coming
Murphys, their last album. They'd released that, and then a year later they released the Fenway Park edition. And what you got with that was, well, it was just the normal album, but you got a live CD from their Fenway Park concerts that they'd played.
That's shit. You even get a hot dog and a bottle of beer.
You did not. You did
That's what
not.
you normally get at the Fenway Park.
But what you did get as well, which is what I liked about it. I mean, I bought the album the day it came out. I bought the reissue the first week it was out, kind of thing. But what I liked about it, I liked the live CD. Obviously, it's the best way to hear the Murphys, in my opinion. But when I was looking through the packaging, this little thing fell out, and it was a code for their website, and you could go on and you could download for free the video of the concert. So you got the live DVD as well, if you like, as a free download. I thought that was all right. I struggled a wee bit with that one though, because it was a year after they'd released the actual album,
Yeah.
and I just thought that was pushing it a bit much. As a real fan of the band, I felt a wee bit ripped off there, because you know I'm going to go and buy that.
Yeah.
And then, the one that I've just reviewed, which isn't up on the website yet, is Copper Blue by Sugar, which is it's its 20th anniversary this year. In my opinion, one of the greatest rock albums ever written. Personal opinion. They've released. The company are releasing the entire Sugarback catalogue in this remastered deluxe format kind of thing. Copper Blue was the first one to come out, and then they came out staggered with about 2 or 3 weeks in between each. With the later ones, that's alright, because they were quite hard to get towards the end there. But Copper Blue, you could walk into FOP in Glasgow and buy it for £5 up until about a month ago. Now you have to spend £14 if you want to buy it. Now you get the remastered album, and it's sounding brilliant. It's great. You get about 8 or 9 bonus tracks, I think, on the first disc, as well as the album. And but what the hell are you doing?
What is he doing?
He's throwing biscuits everywhere.
I'm in the middle of a flow here, Dave, man. I was on a roll there.
And these 9 million cookies.
Fucking cinema goblins. Anyway, you get about 8 or 9 bonus tracks as well as the original album. But after I bought it and I looked into it, they're actually, the majority of them were available on other earlier releases. If you got the besides compilation that was released, you get a live album which wasn't out as well, which is fair enough, and a DVD. But on the DVD, all you really get is there was 3 promotional videos and 3 teleclips for MTV UK and the BBC back in the day. So it only runs for about half an hour or something like that, and it was £14, and I loved that album. As I say, it was one of my favourite albums of all time. I bought it. I kind of struggled to justify it a wee bit, but and the one thing that I don't think anybody's mentioned, which I really miss, is when I put it onto my iPod, it kind of wiped over my original Copper Blue. Fair enough, there was some tracks on it. But when I want to go and hear Copper Blue, I want to hear those 10 tracks. I've been listening to them for 20 years now. That's what I want to hear when I play Copper Blue. And now I'm getting these 8 or 9 other tracks. They're alright. You know what I mean? Some of them are as good as what was on there. But I feel like I don't have Copper Blue anymore. Do you know? I don't know if anybody else has ever felt that. It's maybe a wee small gripe for me.
I mean, it depends. I suppose it depends what bands you're talking about, because I know Iron Maiden re-released their first 13 albums in a digitally remastered digipack, and you got the albums that everybody knows, from Killers right all the way up to, I don't know what the 13th album is. I'm not a big Maiden fan, but you get those albums, all the songs you want. Then you start getting extra things, like you're saying there, 4 live songs,
demos.
Aye, or
Shit
stuff
like
like Metallica were really bad for it as well, you know, and you get them James Hetfield standing in the garage humming the tune to Wherever I May Roam, because he hadn't wrote the lyrics yet. You like that, Lars? No, it's pish, mate. Like, fucking hell, man, it's totally ruins the album for you, especially when you're getting into it and it just suddenly cuts away and you're like, what the fuck?
I mean, surely part of writing an album, it's the structure. It's what song we're going to open this album, the album flows through, you want a good closing track and that. And that appears to get out of the fucking window with these
if it's to do with
remasters.
technology,
Let's
I mean,
stick a load of shit in the
if
end
somebody
here.
said to me like, when they re-released Wasp, I was a big Wasp fan, and they digitally remastered all their albums, and it was quite great. So I got the Electric Circus, I had it on vinyl, I had the original, and I got the new one. And I'm like, oh, brilliant! Sounds exactly. It's clearer, it's better produced. You can hear all the instruments, sounds really good. And then it cuts to Hellion live in Texas, and you're just like,
See,
that's a shite song anyway. Who cares about Texas?
reissues and remasters. Whether the songs at the end, you've got live crap, you've got demos and that stuff, right? Whether that's a good thing or not, I'd say it's down to the individual, right? But I really do like the idea that they're digitally remastering it, because folk have been listening to these albums for 15, 20 years and they've been going, come on, that just sounds a bit shit. And here's the things, if we had more time, we would have done this way. So they take it to a big digital remastering studio and they spend ages making it sound great. And as a hi-fi enthusiast, I think that's a great thing to have, and when you're sitting down for a listen, it's great. And it's especially good, I think, if you're just getting into a band, right? Because there's bands like like
Pantera's a prime example. I mean, they've
released.
They've released Cowboys from Hell 2 years ago, and Vulgar's just been released.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
anniversary
actually
editions.
some I actually buy them now. I didn't even know they were out, and then I'll listen to them. But it's also great for somebody who's just getting into the band. They've got the option just to go, well, there's the remastered, the kind of more up to date complete version.
Well, everybody's doing it. It's not just albums. I mean, I know it takes us slightly off topic, but still within topic. But DC Comics are re-releasing their 50th greatest series of comics in order for the new generation coming up to refamiliarise themselves with the characters and
Is this the new 52 thing?
Aye, that's what it is.
Aye.
So it's 52 stories that were classics in the 50s. 60s and 70s that they're just re-releasing.
They're rebooting them all the
They're
other ways
rebooting them.
around.
Yeah, films are getting rebooted, so albums are getting rebooted, doing exactly the same. They're just doing the same album, but they're just clearing it up.
Film's the same, obviously they're digitally remastering it. Blu-ray's out, obviously been out for a few years now, but they'll still remaster.
And it's just a good way for that.
Don't get me started on the myth of HD television. It's a fucking sham.
Oh, totally disagree.
So are we of the general opinion that these reissues are just ripping off us fans? Is that what we're saying?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of kind of exceptions to the rule. I think if you talk about albums that have maybe been like re-recorded, or like the classic is Nothing, Meshuggah album's Nothing.
That was a good idea.
It was re-recorded, 8-string guitars, all that. Or even After the Burial, Rare Form, they went back and re-recorded it as
the
well.
album.
And it
I
made
never
it
thought of that.
10 times better than it
They
was.
did.
So that stuff kind of works, I think. But sometimes it does just kind of rip people off. I think it's just a fucking sham, really.
I think the thing is that if you're a fan of the band, you'll buy it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I think that at the end of the day, that's where it's always going to go. It's always going to hit the pocket of the fan, and it's either going to benefit you, you're going to love it, and you're going to have something as a collector's item which you're going to cherish all your other albums by the band, or it's going to be something you're going to regret buying because maybe the new production on it's not as it takes away something from the original feel of it. I think there's good points and bad points about it. I would hate to be in a position where you wouldn't get a chance to hear albums like, even though Nothing's not my favourite album by Meshuggah, but the newer version of it's phenomenal. So I think it works both ways.
Aye.
I mean, with the Sugar one, like I say, the 10 original tracks sound brilliant in the remastered version. I would have preferred it if all the shit had been put onto another disc. Disc 1 was just the 10 tracks, that's the
pure
album. Yeah, that would have done for me.
That's such a small thing to do as well, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in the day and age where they're releasing 2 versions of things. If they can keep the manufacturing costs down to do that, why can they just stick another CD in the case?
Exactly.
I find that
Good point.
on things like that, you have to physically go in. I'm a bit of a compulsive neat freak with these things. That if you still want to keep the songs, but you want to keep them on the album, you actually have to physically go in and edit the information on iTunes.
iTunes, that's what I was saying.
Give it a disc 2, for like 6 tracks, just so to separate them out.
Yeah.
And then you don't get the artwork, and then that stresses you. So you've got to attach new artwork to it because you've got to have the artwork. If it's
I feel your pain, big man. I feel your pain. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a wee bit on reissues, remasters, deluxe editions.
Kind of takes us in quite well to the next one.
It kind of does, aye.
It's another
We spoke about albums for quite a while, so we're going to talk about the other side of the coin, which would be movies, rock and roll reviews. A bit of rock, a bit of real. Here we go. So, we bit of the real.
Oh, I get that now.
I think this year, I think in particular, has been huge for movie remakes. I think this year has just been crazy for the amount of films that have been remade. I've got a list here of like ridiculous amount of films: Conan, Footloose, Arthur,
Fucking Conan again.
21 Jump Street, Straw Dogs, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Contraband. I mean,
One at a time, Dave. Let's go through them. One at a time.
Well, in fairness, 21 Jump Street doesn't count because it was a TV series.
true. There's a remake, kinda.
Aye, shit.
Aye.
The 21 Jump Street, the original was shite and all. But
I thought the film wasn't bad. I thought it was funny
Aye.
enough. But
What's your take on remakes? Good thing, bad thing?
well,
I think we'll all have a different opinion.
I used to hate it, right? I used to hate it, and I suppose I still do generally because they normally fuck them up, don't they? They normally get them all wrong.
Yeah.
And it's given to some young director who's just out of film school, and he just goes, "Oh, some old film you want me to remake? Ah, it's fine, no bother. Well, what I'll do is I'll just do this," and then it comes out and it's a pile of shite, and it's nothing like what you remembered and what you were nostalgic about.
True.
One example that's on your list there that I thought was an example where they didn't do that and they actually did like a decent remake was Footloose. I've never been a massive Footloose fan. I think I've never seen the original once, but the remake was done with the heart and soul with the original. You know, they got it right.
Yeah.
They did a lot of things right with it.
well, I would agree with you in that. Only because I like the original. It's a guilty pleasure along with a few other
Great film,
things,
yeah.
but they kept the general theme the same. But stupid wee things like the barn dance, the yellow beetle that he drove. You know, it was still
Yeah.
the same. The only thing they changed was the style of dancing. You know,
Yeah.
there wasn't the normal dancing.
updated
but
that a bit.
They updated
Yeah.
it. They just made it
They'd
footloose,
crump in it.
but
They'd
for the
some crump.
21st century. So, exactly. That's what they did. So there's a whole new set of fans now. There's the ones that were in the 80s who remember the Kevin Bacon one, and you know, and the dancing that was popular then. But they did exactly the same thing because it's still quite rife. You know, that whole. I suppose the protagonist about it is the fact that the dad is the priest and
Yeah.
the minister and didn't want you dancing because apparently that's
And the connection
for the
to
devil.
drink and drugs
Yeah,
and all that
exactly.
kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
aye,
No.
I would agree with
I
that.
thought it was good.
So that one worked, yeah.
I mean, I'm not a huge movie fan. I don't watch them as much as a lot of you guys do. But a lot of these remakes, if I didn't like the original thing, I'll not watch
True.
the new one. And a prime example, I've never seen any of the Mission Impossible films with Tom Cruise because I just remember a shit old 60s thing with a burning tape recorder. And I just a point blank refused to watch them.
See, the thing is,
Maybe I'm narrow-minded.
No,
that way.
it's not
No,
narrow-minded.
no.
You'd be right to think like that. It's like somebody. I mean, I was a huge Professionals fan. They've not done a film of that. It's going to happen.
Yet.
And you know, they tried an updated TV series of it. It didn't really work. And they're supposed to be doing the Sweeney as well.
That's
It's
right,
a
and
movie,
that's,
you know.
that's got Ray Winston in it.
It's Ray Winston and
Plan B or something like that.
aye. It's
But don't get me started on
you know,
Plan B.
so, but as far as Mission Impossible goes, it's got to do with the director. See, Mission Impossible, the first one, when they brought it out, it's alright. It was, I don't know, it's passable. Then there was MI2, which Tom Cruise had a lot to do with. John Woo,
Woo says wood out
you know, and
his face.
explosions. It's actually worth a watch. If anything, I'll watch it for the motorbike chase
But
sequence
yeah,
at the
that
end.
sequence
which
alone
is just
is
as amazing.
worth, yeah.
Mission Impossible 3 nailed it. It's a fucking
Is that
genius film.
J.J. Abrams?
Ah, exactly. You know, he's the main dude in it, and Tom Cruise hasn't got a hand all over it. And the fact that they're implanting explosions in people's heads, so that's amazing.
I
So
think
that
Rose
film,
Bell
if
was
anything,
good.
I'd skip watch the second one. Forget the first
Who
one.
directed
Watch the
the
second
fourth
one.
one?
Definitely watch the third. Well, Tom Cruise did. That was
Oh,
more
right.
his bag. Tom Cruise and somebody else. I can't remember his name now. But I really enjoyed the fourth one.
My mate's
I
brother.
watched it recently,
No,
actually. I quite enjoyed
It
it
was
as well.
really, really good. But it was
Don't,
a good cast though.
Yeah.
Probably drop my name here, but the boy I work beside, his brother is the assistant director, worked on Wish Possible 3 and 4. And,
Alright.
and so you see him in the features directing folk and stuff. I've not even seen the first one, was it good?
I really, really, really enjoyed it. It was you know, it had a really good sort of, I don't know. It was more about the action. There was more thought about it. There was a lot less about Tom Cruise because he's quite a smarmy get on screen. You know, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm Tom Cruise. I'm no into that. But that I think it has to do with the cast. That Jeremy Renner's in it as well, and he comes across as
He's
a really
excellent.
strong
Was the
character.
third one the one that's got, what's his name in it? Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Yes.
Aye, that was a good film. Aye.
No, he's. I think he's the main thing about having a bad guy, and it doesn't take any piss.
Things I hate in remakes, right? Absolutely hate, and I am a massive horror fan, but I just don't see the point of, especially if see Platinum Dunes. I would love to be able, love to get my hands on some Semtex and get near the, see everything Michael Bay's involved with or touches is shit, right? And remakes of horror films for the sake of remaking horror films that you grew up with that were genuinely scary. And just going back to the last couple of years here, we've had Last House on the Left, which
Fish.
was awful.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street,
Which
which was awful.
God awful.
And that was the film that scared me when I was a child. It's the only film that's ever
How
given
did they
me
take source material that was so frightening
visceral
and make
and-
it so unfrightening?
pish. It was awful. Friday the 13th remake, which wasn't all that great. Amityville Horror, which fucking had Ryan Reynolds, the fucking Love Machine,
Don't get me started on that.
No.
playing a serious sort of kind of horror acting role. Oh, I'm scared, but look at me, I've got a cheeky smile.
Boys,
Fucking even worse, right? Even worse. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The remake of that is just fucking horrendous because what they do is they go.
You talking about the first? The
I'm
original
talking
remake
about the
came out-
original Texas
it came out
Chainsaw
about
in the
10 years ago or
70s.
something.
It's fucking amazing. The remake 10 years ago is fucking awful.
I completely disagree. I thought it was an awesome film.
What you know what they've done? See if you watch the original has next to no blood in it at all. It's all fucking in there. It's all in your mind. It's fucking. Go back and watch it. There's next to no blood in it at all. See the fucking remake. Every sequence, fucking blood everywhere. And it's all of it blood.
It had some terrifying sequences in it. The scene where obviously, spoiler alert, but where you know,
10 years ago.
she's looking for her boyfriend.
Are you talking about the 2003 one, the one with Jessica Biel?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye, fucking
Aye.
awful.
I loved it. And there's that scene where she's looking for her boyfriend. She sees him, but it's no him because Leatherface has cut his fucking face off with a chainsaw, and he's looking at her through his face. That's pretty awesome.
No, 1974. That's when it came out. That's
You
the
missed that
original.
noise. That noise was. It seems to be a trend that I don't know if Hollywood's running out of ideas or if it's just cheaper to take something which has been. I mean, horror films in general are cheap to make, and they usually make their money, if not more than their money, because.
But see, it's all to do with genre specific. I mean, horrors for a start, you don't want to remake them because the fact that the way they were done when they were done in the 70s, if you take
Makes
things
them,
like
yeah.
it makes them, they were shittly done, but they had a great impact on it. I mean, see if they tried to redo Jaws. It would
Oh,
be-
but
Jaws
Jaws
is-
if you remember Jaws,
It's not
but
been
watching
I'm surprised it's not
it.
been
Exactly,
done.
but the
But
first half an hour of that film, you didn't see a shark. It's all you did the music.
It
And
has just been
everybody's
released though.
terrified.
See, we're talking about reissues and remasters. That has just been released at cinema.
For the first time.
It's coming out on Blu-ray for the first time. But this is the example where they've done it right, because I think we were talking about HD kind of and stuff. A lot of it's shit because what they do is they just take the DVD transfer, they bang it on a Blu-ray, and then they go, that's you, and you shove it in the player, and it looks just the same. A lot of the time, that's what it serves for. But Jaws, they've actually taken it to, I think it's Photochem in LA, and they've actually cleaned up every frame. They've taken the original 35mm print and things where they had like jumps in the film and things. They actually edited it all, so they've corrected all the faults that were in the original. They've colour corrected it all. They've done all this, and then they're like, right, now we're releasing it, and it'll be in proper, full.
Well, that ties in
sound
what we're saying
and-
about the albums. If you're going to clear up what was already good and make it just visually more appealing as opposed to audibly sounding, then I'm
That's
up
the
for that.
right way.
But if you're going to start changing the shark, make it CG or something,
That's
it's
bollocks,
like,
aye.
come on, I'm not into that. But there is things that do deserve a reboot. I know Total Recall's coming out,
I quite fancy it, to be honest with you,
see,
and
well,
that's surprising.
The amount of
because I
arguments I
didn't
get in, given the fact that there's a cinema just about the opening Oban that I've been attached to, and the whole argument about films. But then again, the last film they ever saw up there was probably Moulin Rouge. So new films that are coming out, I'm all about the reboot. That's what I mean. I know we're going to talk about Spider-Man, and I can't say enough good things about that. Only because
explain this, Mikey. Explain this. What's the difference in a reboot and a remake?
Well, a reboot is taking the already story. It's like if you're going to do a story about Cinderella or Snow White, it's already encapsulated story. It's just your take on it. So that's a reboot of a franchise that is already popular amongst all. A remake is to take the exact same of what was already done 25 years prior to it and doing exactly the same thing but with modern technology.
So a reboot's more like an alternate timeline, almost.
Exactly.
reimagining.
A reimagining. I mean, you still got to have the same facts in there. Like if you take Spider-Man for example, you've still got the character, you've still got the bad guys, you've still got the main story, everything there. It's just told a different way, but you've still got the same facts there. If you start changing the facts, that's what I mean. If they redid, let's say, classic horror, what's the most classic horror?
The Shining.
The Shining. Aye. Let's The Shining or Psycho. Let's just take the main character. Let's say it wasn't Jack Nicholson. Well, take Jack Nicholson character. What if they made him a black woman?
Yeah.
Set it in a travel lodge.
Aye. Well, technically that would count. So if you start to go and mess about with things, I mean, that's.
I'd go and see that, honestly. That'd still be better than Storage 24. Honestly. Oh my god.
Bye.
Oh, kids.
Bye.
So
Get back to the Total Recall thing. I'm just hoping for 4 tits this time. Let's be honest, we all are.
Well, that's the thing, though. That's another thing because that scene's not
Looks
in
promising.
it. It's
Is it not?
no. Well, the scene here in the original scene, she opens up her top.
Yes.
And she shows him
Yeah.
that she's got 3 tits.
Yes.
And then you make me wish I had 3 hands. That's the whole kind of dialogue. But in the new
So I can
film,
give those titties threesomes down.
spoiler alert, I do know this, but is that he speaks to a prostitute who happens to have 3 tits. However, you don't see them. But she says to him, "I'll make you wish you had 3 hands."
Oh, right.
Right, so they've referenced it. They've no done it the same, and everybody in the cinema that's of a certain age, probably this age group in here, will go, "Ah, that was shit. The first one was better."
You saw the tits.
But everybody for the new Total Recall film just really wants to see Kate Beckinsale and Jessica Biel fight each other.
I was going to say
I think it
shag.
looks promising.
To be honest with you, shag with 2 V's.
I think it looks promising. It looks
Aye.
really good.
That's not the only remake this year. We've also got Judge Dredd coming up.
Oh,
I'm actually quite excited
now,
about that.
That's
I'm
right.
quite excited.
Trailer. How good was the new
Trailer's
trailer?
good.
No,
When they're breaching the room, slow motion.
I dribbled just a little right there.
Just when I said
Just
that.
when you said that, man.
Just when I said that.
Premature all over the shop.
Because that original one was, I
was
think we can
pissed,
all
yeah.
agree, is fucking
dreadful.
Well, it's Judge
horrendous.
Dredd, 2000 AD, originated in Scotland. Glasgow, more specifically.
Yeah.
And it's coming
the
out
Mega
next
City
year.
one was based on Greenock, apparently.
Really?
The high
Still
rises
is.
in Greenock. I read 2000 AD in the sort of late 70s, early 80s when I was a kid. And I remember being quite excited about the first Judge Dredd movie coming out, and it was just appalling.
It was awful.
Dredd doesn't get the girl. I'm sorry, he just fucking doesn't.
He doesn't like birds.
Exactly.
He doesn't like
He
anybody.
had just Bigelow, male gigolo, running around behind him all the way through the film. What the fuck is all that
Comedy
about?
sidekick, I know.
What the fuck is all that about?
Yeah.
Aye, it looks much more brutal this one. From
Although
what
in
I've seen
saying
the
that, in the comics, he did have a wee robot butler thing for a couple of years, did he not, Mikey?
Aye, they binned that though. You
Aye,
know,
'cause it was awful.
Aye, it was kind of like the beady 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 beady. That wee
It was a bit
pixie
like
fucking-
Tweaky, aye.
Aye, you know.
Aye.
I
Buck
don't know.
Rogers.
Aye, that's the one.
Basically, the remake anything that's going to show you people's faces getting shot and exploding in slow motion.
He's trying to get this
You know,
in.
Yeah.
I'm
Who
there.
are
I'm
the
there for
villains
that,
in the new one, do we know?
What's that?
Bama.
Scum! In general.
Did you just say Obama?
No, Mama.
Who's the villain? Obama.
It's the woman. She's like a.
His health
she's,
policy.
The tallest building inside Mega City 1. It's like a whole a neighbourhood in one big tower, and that's where all the drugs, the deals, the
This-
prostitution, the guns, and everything.
Sounds
But-
like the race.
Sounds
Judge
eyebrow-raisingly like The Raid.
Well, Judge Dredd and Anderson, although Judge Anderson, she's just a new recruit at this point, and the two of them have to go to a homicide or murder, because there's been another. They have to go and investigate this murder, but they get caught up inside the building, and therefore they can't get out because she controls the whole building.
Right.
So she's the only bad guy, and it's so far. But there's talk of the Angel family being in it, so that means that what's his name?
Mean Machine.
Mean Machine will be head button fucks all the other shot.
Nice.
Yes,
Nice.
Nice.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to that
Yes.
one. One that I'm really not sure about, it's probably going to ruin it, is Highlander.
Yeah.
I was
Why
saying
the
that, right?
fuck? Why the fuck?
Fucking Ryan Reynolds.
What's
Why the
happening?
fuck?
Is that who's in it?
Yeah,
That's who's playing Highlander.
Oh, get the fuck! Listen, I was thinking about this last night. I thought this was going to come up. I did not know Ryan Reynolds was in it.
Yeah, it got leaked a couple of weeks ago.
fuck's
The whole tagline of the films, there can be only one. Except in this case, where they're making another one.
Well, in fairness, it's still not concrete. I mean, they've confirmed him as the Connor McLeod part, but I mean, there are a lot of things that have been happening, like
placing a bad actor with a bad actor. Really, that's. I mean,
yeah, it's like
Christopher Lambert was that bad in it though. He was good.
Well,
It added something to
It
that
did.
movie, and it certainly adds something to the nostalgia of it.
Yeah, and
but I mean, if you think about it, that's all they had. That's all they had in the 90s when these were filmed. Christopher Lambert.
It's got potential to be good in it.
Yes, but you've got to put.
But it's unlikely that it will be.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing with RoboCop in it. And this is the one
RoboCop.
I'm
Yeah.
most. This is the one I'm most worried about, because if there's one film
I know.
in our generations that does not need remade, it's
It's
RoboCop.
RoboCop.
Yeah.
It held up better than most of the things that come out now. It still looks more brutal.
Yeah.
They've done everything right. Why remake it?
Yep.
Because I don't know. Is it because Hollywood are running out of ideas,
Aye,
giving money?
yeah, probably.
What? So, but one interesting thing, I think it was you that told me, Dave, was that the guy who's playing RoboCop, it's the bloke for The Killing, the American series of The Killing.
That's right.
The
That's
cop,
right.
he's
Which
playing.
one?
Joel
That's
Joel
right,
Kinnaman.
All right.
That's the one.
Aye,
partner. The guy that's his
Holder.
partner. Holder.
Yes,
That's alright.
he's
Yep.
playing Alex
And
Murphy.
also
in RoboCop.
Hugh
Yep.
Laurie's in it. He's the head of OCP or something like that.
I don't know who he's playing it, but he's in it.
I saw a viral advert for it
And
Oh yeah, yeah.
on
Sam
the-
Jackson's
on
in
the
it as well, by the way.
Gary Oldman's in it.
That seems to be
I
the
like
way
Gary
forward.
Oldman.
I love Gary.
Gary
Oldman.
Oldman's
He
like
plays.
But yeah.
It seems to be the way forward for films. Prometheus did it as well. It's
The viral advert.
loads of viral adverts on
Yeah.
YouTube beforehand, almost bringing you into the world of this is society now. This is what we're
What
doing.
did they do in the viral advert? They changed it. It's
Yeah,
no longer
yeah.
OCP, which stood for Omni Consumer Products.
Yeah,
Right? It's now standing for Omnicorp.
that's right. Yeah,
Why change it?
yeah.
Just to fucking annoy us?
But
Yeah.
the
In
this
OCP, the OCP logo still remains the same.
Yes.
And they refer to Ed 209,
Yes,
not as
Ed-
Ed as ED
Yeah.
dash 209,
Yeah.
stroke 209. But it's still Ed 209. You can see him blowing up a tank, which is
It, look,
cool.
it looks
It
almost
looks
identical.
No, it doesn't. The actual, remember in the original, he had the kind of grill over the front of him.
Ah,
that
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
kind grill. He's now got like a big cannon where
Oh,
that grill used to
fuck.
be. Just to annoy the people in this room. So
Man, we're ramping up the geek quota right now, boys.
Oh, sorry.
We
about
are
that.
body deep in it.
But I mean, it's 25 years old, you know. Body deep in geek.
Yeah. So yeah, remakes are going to be a big thing this year. We've also, there's tons of others.
see, the Batman films have already been confirmed for a reboot.
Yeah, already.
This was months ago, right? They confirmed
well,
for a reboot.
see, it's no strictly true. Well, it sort of is and it sort of isn't, because when Nolan finishes the Dark Knight Rises, that puts to bed this sort of story.
Trilogy,
of it.
that's what
the
he wanted
reason. It's not really a reboot. It's going to be like a restart, because Warner Brothers have confirmed they want to do a Justice League. In order to have a Justice League,
They
you
need
have
to
to
get
do
the
a new
actors right
Superman.
and stuff,
So there's a
yeah.
new Superman out next year. There's a new Batman. They'll have to introduce a Batman, of which in this Superman coming out, the Man of Steel, there's supposed to be a cameo in it from Wonder Woman. Or
So it's a bit
gonna
like
be-
what they did with the Marvel films.
well, aye,
Exactly
but this
like
is
that.
it. They know where the money's got to be made.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in order for the Justice League and to be ready by 2014, you've got to introduce Superman, Batman, the Flash, Aquaman,
Martian
Wonder
Manhunter.
Woman, and
Martian Manhunter.
aye, and there's another one in there. Shite, but because they've already now they're saying in Marvel world that they've stopped the production of Daredevil because the writer from Twilight was on it. What a dick! I don't know why. Twilight.
The director walked off as well, didn't
Aye,
he?
and Fantastic Four is in go now.
Yeah, I know that.
Thor 2 sequel's been announced. We know who's all in it.
Iron Man 3.
Captain America 2's been announced as well. It's getting called the Winter Soldier, so that includes Bucky O'Hare's character who died in the first Captain America. The Avengers 2's already kicked off.
Bucky O'Hare.
Aye, Bucky's pal.
Bucky Baxter.
Bucky, aye.
Bucky O'Hare's the wee rabbit.
What's the rabbit?
Is it? Aye, well, his name's Bucky, and
Bucky's
he's not a
something
rabbit, but he's a Winter Soldier, and he'll be in the second Captain America film. I guarantee
And
it.
Iron Man 3.
Seen
also.
as
And
well,
Iron Man 3.
wading into comics now, which I do know about since I don't know bugger all about films. Mikey,
Yes.
you've been a fellow comic enthusiast. The trailer, that wee extra bit at the end of Avengers.
Aye.
Now, wee spoiler alert, folks here. Thanos,
Thanos,
obviously,
indeed.
right?
Yep.
Where do we think that's going? Is that the next Avengers film? There's talk about Thanos appearing in Thor 2. I'm hearing that
So what's-
nobody's quite sure.
So what's Thanos then? Because
Thanos
I-
is like a
Thanos is
kinda-
a Titan.
I was told, see, I knew. My wee brother, he said to me, it's Galactus, the destroyer of worlds. I said, it's no Galactus.
No, it's
Galactus is the size of a
Thanos.
fucking building. And he's going, it's Galactus. And I'm saying, it's no Galactus. So,
He's
now,
a-
you listen to this, Michael, it's no fucking Galactus. Right?
Thanos is a type of demigod who's obsessed with death, and he appeared briefly, I think, in the sort of 70s in the what my mate used to call the kind of cosmic Marvel titles like Silver Surfer and things like that, the ones that are set in space and kind of far off concepts and stuff like that. But he came to prominence in the early 90s in a limited series called the Infinity Gauntlet,
Aye.
which is to do with a big leather glove with about 6 or 7 jewels in it, and each jewel has the power over something or other, and when they're brought together it kind of makes the person omnipotent.
Sold.
And the Infinity Gauntlet was a fairly decent limited series.
Well, that was
It-
his first full appearance. His first appearance was actually an Iron Man number 55.
Aye.
But he was very slight in there. He said, alright, big man, then left. I
now,
was brought it back.
apparently, if you look closely in the Thor movie, at one of the parts when they're walking through an armoury in Asgard, you actually see the Infinity Gauntlet
In the background.
in the background somewhere.
Aye,
My
right.
geek mate picked up on this one. I
I seen
totally
it
missed
today and I was
that.
kind of like, oh, I get really
The
excited.
Infinity Gauntlet!
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
Look!
what ties that in nicely with that is that you do see the Infinity Gauntlet in Thor, when at the end of the Avengers you see Thanos, like Baz is saying, he's a Titan. Now, the way you tie that in is that next year, so 2013, that's next year, isn't it?
Yes.
Aye. They're bringing out Guardians of the Galaxy, which is the other Marvel
I heard about this.
thing, where there's 6 sort of alien-style superheroes, but one of them is the stepdaughter of Thanos, who's one of the characters in it. So that's going to set us up for Avengers 2, I think, because the whole Tesseract thing's still involved, which was used in Captain America. Obviously, Red Skull disappeared. He's went into a parallel dimension. He's probably something happening to him that happened to Loki at the end of Thor, because he appeared in the Avengers. The Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy will set you up the backstory for Thanos, because nobody who reads comics is not going to know who he is, what he does, or what he's capable of. So I think that's where it's going to come in. And then when Avengers 2 comes out, I think they're going to tie that in to that the arrival of something huge. But I don't think it's going to be fought on Earth. I think it's going to be fought on Asgard. I think they're going to go the other way, because it's called Darklands, Thor 2, Darkland, I think it's called. They've just announced it. So I think that's going to be set on Asgard, because what's her name's going to open up the bridge again. The Bifrost. Bring me another. Yeah. So I'm so mega excited about the whole thing. Yeah. I can't contain it.
No, I'm quite excited myself.
Comics, man, just everywhere.
Well, while we're on that subject of comics, did you see the new Spider-Man movie, Baz?
I've not got around to seeing it yet, and I struggled a bit with this. I thought the first Spider-Man film was the first, in my mind, it was the first kind of decent superhero one that they did. A lot of folk disagree. I friggin' hated the Tim Burton Batman movies. Hated them. Everybody hated the shit that came after them until we got to
Chris Nolan.
Batman Begins.
So for my mind, the first X-Men film and the first Spider-Man were the first ones that actually did any kind of justice to the comics. And I don't know, I just didn't really see the point in doing this reboot. I don't quite get the reboot. The whole reboot thing in comics themselves came in after I'd sort of drifted away from the comics scene and all that. I know it happens a lot nowadays. You get Armageddon this and Doomsday this and they reset that and all of this kind of stuff. I've not seen it. I will go to see it.
You should. I suppose it's just in the continuity of just watching it and appreciating. I mean, that's Spider-Man's my character. I've loved him since I was old enough to know what he was, and even I had the pyjamas on trying to climb up the back wall many a morning. It's so much so my dad even put the concrete nails into the wall so I could actually hold on. So it was check me go, but it gets fucking sore and you fall, and I'm getting webbed, so I'm fucked either way. But Spider-Man for me, because it's an institution, it doesn't matter how many times it's done.
Right.
It's alright. It'll always be cool. I watched the first one 2003 that Sam Raimi did, and I was like, this is cool because it's Spider-Man. I don't care who's playing it. It's just about Spider-Man in a suit, swinging off of things, helping people. That's amazing. I didn't really like the Green Goblin story, how they went with it. I didn't really like that Gwen Stacy wasn't in it. It was Mary Jane that was in it. There were certain things I could geek level, but if I take it straight to the movie, it was enjoyable. Action flick, Spider-Man swinging about the place. The new one, however, it's just, it's just hit home to the actual facts. They've darkened it up a little bit. They've gave Peter Parker a less of a geekier role, made him a bit more youthful and more 21st century, and they've just added in a few other bits and bobs. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it doesn't matter if the people I didn't really like it. Spider-Man, he was there. He's pure climbing things. That's what I wanted to see. I see that. Amazing. And they've confirmed they've confirmed Spider-Man 2 and 3 now. And obviously there's a big hoo-ha at the end of Spider-Man because you see a figure at the end again and it was, who is it?
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, but half the geek squads are pretty much saying it's Norman Osborn, which you would expect given it's Oscorp that we're talking about, and he's a Green Goblin, blah blah blah. Some people thought it might be Electro because there was a flash of thunder and lightning before he appeared, and then there was a flash of thunder and lightning as he disappeared. I don't believe that because Electro, as it says, is to do with the bearing of electricity, so flash of lightning doesn't really count, or thunder for that fact.
Did you think the Lizard was a good choice of villain for the movie?
No.
I do. Well, it's a good choice of villain. Story-wise, yeah.
I thought...
Dr. Kirk Connors is Peter Parker's tutor, basically. That's in the comic books. He taught everything he knew, basically, and was friends with his father, which takes a whole other sideline away there, and he does strive to do the cross-mutagenic properties of different strains of animals and stuff like that. So from that point of view, in the introduction, the web, the Oscorp, all that kind of thing for the film, I think worked really, really well. The Lizard didn't really look great in the film.
That's my problem with it.
What I'm saying is, biologically speaking, or anatomically correct, I would say, if you were going to become a mutant lizard, that's how you would look. It's no because the actual lizard
in real life.
In real life, if I was going to splice you with an iguana, right, that's how you'd probably look. But if it was like the comic and he was spliced more with a crocodile, he had a long face and everything.
That's right,
it looked cooler, but you just can't do that in real life.
No,
so that's why I would argue the case.
What I thought about the film was, I think you know, we obviously looked at it at the point of view that it's accurate to the comics
Aye.
in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Just a kind of film going point of view. Thought it was alright. Thought it wasn't bad. I didn't think it was amazing. I don't think the technology, this is what we were talking about, Duncan.
Yeah.
I don't think the technology has moved on far enough to need to
warrant
reboot
a reboot.
it. Exactly, because the CG, I didn't even think the CG in it was as good
As
as
the
some of
previous,
the
yeah.
previous films. But more to the point, the reason that they've done this is obviously because Hollywood spotted a cash cow and they've went, we're pushing 3D now, let's redo it in 3D. And I guarantee you, the Batman reboots will come out, I bet you they'll be in 3D.
Aye, no, and you're probably absolutely right. And from the Hollywood studio perspective, it's a cash cow, and it's made. It's now the 5th grossest film in all time. Now, you know, Spider-Man.
5th biggest.
5th biggest
Is it
film.
right?
I mean, like
Biggest
Avengers
film
is the 3rd. So you've
Yeah,
got
the Avengers was-
Avatar's first, Titanic second, Avengers is
and then
3rd,
it's Harry
Harry
Potter or
Potter,
something
now
like-
Spider-Man. You know,
Yeah.
so they're doing something right. But what I would say is though that the reboot side of it, they have spotted the cash cow, but it's because of the Avengers. That's what's happened. It's kickstarted everybody because they want everybody to be sort of crossed in, and by announcing a second and third sequel, I'm pretty sure, I would love to bet parts of my anatomy to this one, but Spider-Man will appear in the Avengers at some point.
I
He
think
has
so,
to.
because there was a big internet thing about
He has to.
how everybody was huffed that he was
But-
kind of no in the film.
When you were
and
saying
stuff.
about the CG, what I would knock it on is, see when you look at the first Spider, the one that Sam Raimi did, too much stars and stripes going on, right? Because it was in the wake of the
Aye.
Twin Towers,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
2001.
There's a
And
bit
there
when
was
you see 'em-
there's a scene that's been cut from it where they put a web between the two
Between the
towers and he
Twin
catches a
Towers.
helicopter, and they
that
cut
got
all
out
that.
'cause that
But
was at the same
what they
time.
did was the bit on the bridge when the locals started throwing bricks and stuff at the Goblin, you know, hey, leave Spider-Man alone, he's our pal. Which is exactly the point. Spider-Man is their pal. He's the epitome of New York, and everybody loves him, and that's why I love the subtle nuances in the film. On the bridge scene when he helped the wee boy put the mask on, it make you invincible. That
Aye, that was cool.
heartwarming,
Aye, that was
amazing.
good,
And there's no stars and stripes.
Aye.
There's no need to stop on a flagpole and go, hey, by the
Which
way, guess
happened-
where I'm from?
that was
Swing
in,
away again.
That was in Spider-Man 3 with Sam Raimi on it. There was an actual scene where he kind of stops in front
On the
of
flag
a
and then-
giant American flag.
Aye, and it's
So,
like, well, fuck
right,
that,
we're
man.
America,
We didn't need
we're
this.
the best. We
Because
were
we
never
all
in,
know
and I'm
fine well
Spider-Man.
if
And I'm pure love
if the
swinging.
world was going to go to war, it's not going to get led by fucking Spider-Man
Aye.
dancing about going, look at my flag, you know, you're going to send in some big cunt there, probably Juggernaut. Oh, fucking Judge Dredd. You know, somebody who's got a big pair. You know, Wolverine.
Right, quick question. Any comic book that's not been made into a film that you wish they would?
That's a good question, Baz.
Getting my geek on now, boys. You've
That
started.
wasn't on the agenda.
I know it's not. I'm free balling, Dave. Is that the term? Or is that something else?
That's a good question.
Well, technically, I and no. One of my favourite graphic novels or comic books of all time is the Judge Dredd Batman crossover, Judgment in Gotham.
Right.
I would love that to get made.
Yeah.
Where Batman inexplicably, well, it's not inexplicably, it happens, it's to do with the Scarecrow because of the crossover, but he ends up in Mega City 1, and Judge Death ends up in Gotham City,
Yep.
and the carnage that unfolds is unparalleled to anything you've ever seen. If I could get that right on the big screen. Although, me and the missus were talking about this the other day, if I won the lottery and money was no question whatsoever, she says, what film would you reboot? Transformers.
Yeah.
Aye, without Michael Bay.
Aye. No, I'd do it.
Oh, you do?
I'd do it. Aye, and,
You could do it,
and I would date in a trilogy. Start it in Cybertron and date it the way it was supposed to be done.
Aye.
Move to Earth and then go back again.
Here's a question. I've never read it, but I've heard the concept, and the concept's always intrigued me, and I don't think it'll ever see the light of day in terms of a film. But there's a alternative Superman history where instead of landing in America, he lands in the Soviet Union.
Aye.
Red something or
Red
other.
Sun,
Aye,
is it?
Aye, Red
Aye, Red
That
Sun,
could be
Red
right.
Sun.
Aye, Red Sun,
Aye.
aye.
And instead of being the champion of capitalism and all the American qualities, he's championing communism
Aye.
and all those qualities. I was just wondering if any of you have read it, and does it?
And would it do
I've
any
not-
good
I
No,
think
I've
it'd be
not
a
read
great idea for a film,
I've
and it's
not
not
read
because
that one
I
myself.
I tend to have
I don't know if this is the right
Communist
time to be
tendencies,
promoting communism right enough, but
always a good time to promote communism. Mickey.
It
Always
does.
a good time.
I've not read that one myself, but the whole communist thing, it does lead me nicely into the one that I'd like to see made into a film, which is The Boys by Garth Ennis. For anybody that doesn't know, The Boys are a team, they're loosely affiliated with the CIA, and they're responsible for keeping the superheroes in line, because in their world the superheroes are utter cunts. So they are, and it's got a brilliant backstory. It's all to do with this corporation that developed this serum that could create superhumans in the war and so on. And it's all how government's controlled by the big business and all that. And the characters, it's written by Garth Ennis, who's Irish, but one of the characters in it's Scottish, wee Hughie, who visually is based on Simon Pegg, bizarrely. And he actually is, because it says that in one of the intros. I would love to see that done, but there is a Russian character in that called the Love Sausage.
Not the best name for a Russian character.
It's not, but he has an enormous cock which leads to the name, and you see it through his spandex all the time. It's friggin' hilarious.
Do you know what I mean?
So that's the communist superhero I'd like to see in a non-gay way.
Me and my brother were having a chat yesterday, just something similar to that, on the fact that comic, if that ever get made, well, you've already got the parallel universe of the Civil War in Marvel. You know, when they try to bring the registration in for mutants and people with superheroes, and it's actually Tony Stark on one side who says, no, everybody should be registered and unmasked, and it's Captain America on the other side who said, hey, no, wait a minute, if they're superheroes and they're masked, you can fucking just appreciate their concern. And then the two worlds of Marvel actually go head on, which is not unlike, there was a Superman one as well, where the Lex Luthor actually incidentally becomes the president of the United States, and he brings in the same order, and he's got superheroes on one side saying, aye, we want you all registered because we want to know who you are, you prick. And the other side, no, I'm going to take my mask off for nobody who I'm going without paying money in my spandex, you know. And they all go at it too, but everybody's kind of pointing to that. I reckon that's how it might happen. They'll get to that point, they'll have all the superheroes on one big screen, have one huge big fight, and then it'll end, and then they'll go, right, let's go back to the beginning.
It'll be the greatest film ever.
It will be. And I'll be sitting there with my box of Kleenex.
There's two that I'd quite like to see. One, comics and graphic novels. I'd love to see a Batman versus Predator film.
Yeah.
I think that would be.
That comic is
awesome.
amazing though.
Aye,
that comic is amazing.
Absolutely.
And if you want to hear something even funnier, you want to read Batman versus Alien.
Oh Jesus!
Or Alien versus Predator versus Terminator.
Which it equally is shit.
But the other one that I think would actually possibly translate, be a bit bizarre.
Meshuggah versus Predator.
Sold.
There's only one.
Oh no, he's got a gent gun.
Self-financed. A gent gun. The other one I think would possibly make a good film is Marvel Zombies. I don't know
you were telling me about this.
And it's Robert Kirkman wrote it. Same guy who wrote The Walking Dead. He's done this series where all the Marvel characters it's a universe where they've all become zombies. And
I've heard of it. It's good.
It's awesome. It's really, really good, and it could potentially translate into a really cool film. How they would market it, I don't know, because it's all about superheroes, kid role models and that.
Well, just for shits and giggles, they should redo Twilight and put Blade in it.
That'd be awesome.
Or Abe Lincoln.
That photo that's circulating on it just now, Abraham Lincoln vampire chasing Edward with an axe. It's fantastic.
Oh, it's awesome.
Nice.
Are you Dave Comics? Are you anything?
You got anything? No.
I like Winnie the Pooh.
So I think we've probably spoken about comics for about enough time. Briefly, just before we go into kind of exclusives and stuff, there's a few films on the horizon, not remakes. I mean, just like general decent films that look pretty good. Taken 2.
Woo!
How fucking awesome is that going to be?
It is now that they've changed it to a kind of semi-believable story.
Sure.
Yeah.
Initially, the story was that he gets kidnapped.
Aye.
And his daughter, who is trained and he's fucking black ops
She'll have
ex-mercenary,
some sort
she
of
has to go and save
phone
him. She has to go and save him for a lot of nonsense.
I know.
But they've changed that, luckily. So yes,
Yeah,
They've
definitely.
changed it luckily to them travelling to Turkey with his estranged wife who's now back in love with him, and the same gang, although it's the kind of offshoot of the gang.
Aye.
Which one? The
So
first
the father-
one
father
kidnapped
of one
the mother and
You
the daughter
see
this
them
time.
in the trailer.
So he has two people to get back, and he has a similar phone call.
See in the trailer
and this
putting
is
the
what-
bodies in the ground,
Yeah.
and they're like, we're going to exact revenge.
It'll be mindless violence.
Can't
It'll
wait.
be fantastic.
You said in the trailer you actually see him getting the same phone call.
He's on the phone to his daughter saying,
She's about to be taken.
"Your mother's just been taken. There's a chance that you'll just be taken. Remember what I told you last time? Climb out and she's on the fucking side of a building and all that. Trying to, if she's going to be taken, let her get taken. You're not fucking climbing on the side of a
It's
building
gonna
and
be
that.
awesome. I think Taken's the best film Liam Neeson's
think
arguably
so.
ever done.
I think
And
Unfortunately,
hold on a minute.
It typecast him.
arguably.
Oh, I was going to say he played Michael Collins, Schindler's List.
Yeah. That's,
Taken.
oh,
Best film he's ever done.
Darkman.
Oh, come on.
He was in Dark Knight Rises as
Man.
well. He played Ra's al Ghul,
Yeah.
didn't that?
He might be hit.
Take it.
That links into a new film coming out. End of this week.
9
He
million.
was terrible in the A-Team.
Well,
He was, well, that was
Oh, come on,
very
Neil.
good.
Well, that was a great film.
The Grey was the other good film he did recently.
The
Okay,
Grey-
let's just settle
Which
for
was
it
reviewed
recently.
on rockandreelreviews.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll have you know
Um,
he did the voice of the line in the Chronicles of Narnia. as
You're
well.
just the fucking Liam Neeson fucking history.
I'm just saying he's done good films other than just Taken.
Okay. I think we've established
Rob
he's been
Roy.
in some other films apart from Taken.
He was in The Simpsons too. Just saying.
Apparently, on the internet, it says the budget for the original Taken was 25 million. Taken 2, the budget is 80 million.
Oh, fuck.
What are they spending all the money on?
Cars flipping.
Liam
buildings
Neeson's salary
exploding.
to get him back.
80
Yeah.
million.
That's a lot, eh? That's like, what,
It's a
Yeah.
long money.
tripled?
That's nothing compared to the new Skyfall film, which is 200 million.
See,
Fucking
can I just
hell.
say something
The
about
fuck's
this?
up?
I'll just say something about this. They have a lot of work to do to bring me back to the franchise.
Who?
Right?
Bond.
Oh, look,
Bond.
look who's the villain though.
Yeah, but Casino Royale I liked, right?
Bardem
Really liked,
is
right?
the
Well,
villain.
the new one's called what's
Really like
Sky?
it.
Skyfall.
Skyfall.
And then
that's
they
it.
released what was Quantum of Solace, which I hated.
I didn't get caught up in the hype with it. I never saw it at the cinema. I waited, and then one night I watched it on Blu-ray. Thought it was great. Thought it was really great.
It's like, you know what it is? It's like watching the Expendables. It's an explosion every.
I bet Sam
fucking
Mendes is
five-
the director in this one. You
That's
know,
true,
so
yeah.
you're
Yeah,
talking.
that's what I'm saying.
You're
though.
talking
They'll
American
have
Beauty,
they'll
Road to
actually
Perdition.
have
You
to-
know,
One of my-
Johnny.
properly
American
have
Beauty.
the
Yeah.
win.
One of my
have to
favourite
win me
directors,
back.
yeah.
The trailer alone looks amazing.
It does look good.
So,
Aye.
fingers crossed.
I think
Yeah.
James
And-
Bond's
and,
shite.
and
Thanks for
Yeah.
that.
But then again, James
hate
Bond.
James Bond.
James Bond. I said it in my review of Spider-Man. It's a thing that can be carried on. Spider-Man,
yeah.
James Bond. You know, it can be played by.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you can go back. I mean, you speak to parents and stuff like that. You say, do you remember from Russia with Love? Oh, I loved that film. It was brilliant because what's his name did the song? I don't know who he is because he's fucking really old. From Russia with Love by. I can't remember his fucking name. I was trying to sound
Somebody-
really quite knowledgeable there, but no, it's gone. I'm looking forward to James Bond. No, I really like James Bond.
James Bond, yeah.
And there's a good cast on it, you know.
There is actually.
You know,
yeah.
Ralph Fiennes is in it.
and
Nice.
Xavier Bardem's the villain, isn't he?
Yes.
He's, which is, I mean, that
He's
sells
awesome,
it alone.
And if you don't know who's Xavier Bardem, you've No Country for Old Men. You know,
Yep.
he's good in that. You know.
Fantastic film.
Another film you mentioned there, Duncan, was Expendables.
The Expendables 2!
Expendables 2. What we're thinking.
How could they make it worse?
How could they make it better?
How could they make
No,
it better?
well-
But Chuck Norris is in it.
Hey, look, well, let's say move in the right direction.
He'll roundhouse kick you in the face.
With his beard.
Van Damme
Van
as the
Damme.
villain.
Van Damme.
As a villain, he's only ever been a villain in one film,
Amazing.
and I can't remember what it was.
No retreat, no surrender.
That's it!
Nice.
Oh, that's right.
Awesome.
I should have got that. That's one of my favourite films. I should have fucking
Oh,
got that.
really?
Clearly not.
I mean, there are a couple of things with this film. Obviously, it's I don't even know what the fuck I'm going to say.
There's a couple of things.
I don't know, like
Bigger cast.
Liam
Um,
Hemsworth, Bruce Willis, Sylvester Stallone, Jason Statham, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van
Schwarzenegger's got
Damme,
an
Jet
actual
Li, Chuck
part in
Norris, Dolph Lundgren, Terry
Schwarzenegger and Willis
Crews,
have both got parts
Randy
in it.
Couture.
What a cast.
They're no longer just cameos, they're actually playing parts in it.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in the trailer where you see him ripping a door off a car, like
Yes.
a wee smart car thing, which I thought was pretty funny. But it could
I would
potential to
love
be
that.
awesome. But so did the first one, and the first one let me down.
Apparently, Chuck Norris let slip in an interview that it was going to be a PG originally, this film.
They talked about that with the last one, though. They
I know,
talked about
and then
this
there
with
was
the
that
last
much
one.
backlash off of this. People saying like, "How could you make this a PG? How can you make it the greatest action film ever and then make it a PG?"
The
So
la-
they've now retracted that and said, "Well, it's going to be a rated R in
Yeah,
America."
the last one was supposed to get 2 different releases at
What
2
was the
different
last one? A
age groups.
15?
I think so. I think it was.
It was supposed to get released as a 12 plus as well, though. We're going to reduce the violence for people who like to go and see
Yeah.
it.
It just wouldn't be as good.
That's
No,
not
what's
the
the
point.
point?
What's the
What's
point?
the-
Fuck off.
The world's greatest action heroes.
Yeah.
Why are you aiming at a 12 market anyway? You should be aiming at an adult market.
Yeah.
Aye, I know. That's
I think it'll be good.
What?
The first
I
one
mean,
didn't
what
have a
they
story.
probably-
Didn't need a story.
What they've probably paid people in salaries will be looking to make a lot of that back, and by opening it up to like younger age groups, they'll hope to do that.
People
it's
get
going to make
blown
the
up.
film shit.
People get blown up. Doesn't matter if the film shit.
I've not seen the first one.
Just don't bother. Just go
No, if you're going to watch it for any part, it's the bit where the big dude walks through the corridor with a gun, just blowing people
The
in half.
shotgun thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, Mike
That's
Shotgun.
amazing.
Yeah.
The AA-12.
Yeah, it's that thing
I
you do,
believe
you
it is.
Modern
Yes,
Warfare.
yes, yes.
No Mickey Rourke in this one though.
No. Originally, they've been talking to his character getting killed off at the beginning, but I don't even think he's in
Yeah.
it at all. So
Does anybody else think they're saving Seagal for part 3?
I
Seagal
hope
refused.
so. I hope
Seagal
so.
refused to do it because of 2 conflicts of interest. One, he absolutely despises Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, properly despises
Yeah, that's
Jean-Claude
true.
Van Damme. And 2, something to do with the producer. Producer on the film apparently. there's some sort of ongoing issue.
But it's not just him that he didn't want to do it. But Kurt Russell got asked to do it as
Yes.
well, and he said, "Oh, I don't want to be a part of ensemble acting."
I think it's Kurt Russell. Right, Kurt Russell.
Fuck
to me-
off.
even getting
That
that.
was the last thing he did other than that stupid film with Goldie Hawn overboard.
The last
He
thing,
was stuntman, Mike.
the last thing you did, like Dark Blue and some other good
I
films.
said something
Death
good.
Proof.
That
Death
was
Proof.
good.
Something good.
Dark Blue
Proof.
was a great film.
Oh, I'm ignoring you. Something good.
Death Proof. He was
Escape from
stuntman.
New York. There you go. That's how far back you've got to go.
The Thing.
Fuck the thing.
Fuck the Thing. Wait a minute.
Oh. All right, I'll take that one back. The thing's amazing. Escape from New York.
He's not to me though. If you look at his films,
Soldier.
right, he's not the same. He's not the same sort of. I've got Soldier now on DVD.
A great
Two
film.
sides, you need to switch it in the middle. It's one of the old ones. I love that film. The thing about that is, the thing about Kurt Russell is though he's not on the same level in terms of action status from that era
Yes.
as fucking Bruce Willis.
Tango Cash.
What was that, Mickey?
Bruce Willis.
Tango Cash.
Well, if you want to go down that road, do you know who else is missing of it then? Fucking Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not an action hero.
Oh, he was in that film Metro.
Which was just Beverly Hills Mints.
48 hours, another 48 hours.
That's my point. Tango Cash, 48 hours.
Is Tango
Eddie
and
Murphy.
Cash the one with the dog?
No, that's Thunder on the Hooch.
Oh, I like the dog. I'd have it, innit? That's Expendables 3 doing the dog thing.
He's quite good in Stargate. No, the Doug.
I like
Sorry,
Stargate.
Kurt Russell.
Aye.
But he's not. I don't think he's on the same level as
No, I agree.
action-wise to
you,
me.
you didn't. You think of things like Predator and Commando and stuff.
Yeah,
you think
of course.
that
Well,
type of thing.
Carol Weathers isn't in it.
Well, and neither's Bill Duke or
Oh, Duke.
Bill Duke, Mac,
Oh, aye.
and
I thought you were just saying random southern words at me there.
aye. I know there's a lot of people who could put in it, but they've obviously picked the biggest ones. But Seagal's missing the lineup. So.
He's got stupid hair, let's face it, that's why. And he plays on...
I will never hear a
plays
bad
it-
word said against Steven Seagal.
Hey, listen, up until that film, what is it called again? The one with DMX in it.
Exit
Wounds.
Exit Wound. Up until that,
He did
fine,
it- he did
can't
a-
really say anything.
He did
Everything
a
after
handful
that.
that were good though. He did Exit Wounds. He did. What was the other one he did? He did after that. Roman Must Die came out. He wasn't in it, but
Yeah.
then he was in another film that he was in.
Yeah,
that,
but Chad Rapper's in it as well.
or was he in it?
No.
No.
Purely the Grave.
Purely
I'm
the
talking
Grave,
shite.
that's not
in
him.
fact,
That's
I
Jet
think the
Li.
only common denominator in the films was DMX.
Mix. Had 3 films where he had
I don't know.
him and the other kind of comedy guy. So, but
Aye,
yeah,
but apparently this is Van Damme's return to the big screen, like
yeah.
for fucking mega years.
Well, since he did his own sort of biography of JCVD, I don't know if anybody's
Yeah.
seen that, but it's really...
Was that in
it's a-
cinema?
I thought it was brilliant.
It was a really good film. He
I
was
loved
taking
it.
the piss out himself a wee bit, and it's kind of like what Van Damme sees in his head as opposed to what everybody else sees Van Damme
Yeah.
doing. And it was a really a lot of people slagged him off for it, but I actually quite felt for him a wee bit.
I thought it was great.
It was, but he hasn't done anything other than the Budweiser adverts.
Which are course, but aye.
Oh, of course. Oh, of course.
Your heart was in the right place there.
Aye, no, it was about beer.
That
I know what
scene
you
in
meant.
JCVD where he sort of floats up and has the big monologue.
Aye.
It really opens up.
It's at the bit at the end where they think he's going to come out the bank and just roundhouse kick people and stuff like that. He doesn't he? But the SWAT team that pull him out by his hair kind of thing, you know. Poor bastard.
So Expendables 2, that's out in August. Should be pretty cool. Another one that I've got in here for August is the Bourne Legacy.
Oh.
What's your take on the Bourne
Why?
film?
Why
I've
did
never
you
seen
read
any
it?
of them.
Nice, thanks. Baz.
You've not seen them.
No.
Well, you
I'll
can go
go
and see
in
this one because essentially what I've done is because Matt Damon didn't want to come in the film, they've just said, you know, your character exists, but we'll just do it with a different guy who's from the same project.
No, it's a
And-
different project.
It's a different
Okay,
project.
well, I keep mentioning them every 2 seconds.
I've
in a
said that
fucking
actually
trailer.
you do need to see the previous films to see this, although it's not a
Can I
prequel
just
or a
say
sequel.
something? If you're going to see a film and the trailer, which is basically almost kind of rebooting the franchise to an extent, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to trailer and they have to mention the character who's not in it about 5 or 6 times
Yeah.
in the trailer, just so you go, oh, this is a Bourne film. Oh, remember we liked that
In
Bourne film.
fairness,
See, let's go and
actually,
see that Bourne film.
he
It's
is
not
in
worth
it.
going to see.
In the trailer, did they not see?
He's a cameo role in it.
And on a
can't
photograph on a computer or something, is he not?
No, he's
Yeah,
actually
it's in
supposed to be in it.
And then they're also talking about making the next one after that now, which
With
will have
him
them
in
both in it,
Yeah,
apparently.
because Matt Damon said he didn't want involved. It's likely it's going to pull in a lot of money.
What's he get?
so-
What's the bloke
Well, you
who's
can
in it
do-
now? Jeremy
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 Renner.
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 Right,
Who's in
obviously-
everything just now?
Well, it's the thing is,
Rangers.
the last thing he did that was pish was SWAT. with fucking what's his name? There's no Russell Crowe, the other, but Colin Farrell.
Farrell, aye,
right,
that's right.
which was mince because he was the bad guy in that quote unquote and get chopped in half by a train. But it wasn't a very good film. But now he suddenly made an appearance because obviously he chopped up in Mission Impossible 4, then the Avengers.
He was good at Mission Impossible
He
4.
was good in them all. But I also think that the Bourne Legacy films, I think it's a good move. I really do. And it's not so much as a reboot. Okay, so he can't. What's his name?
Yeah.
Matt Damon can't do it. So they brought somebody else in, and they're using a similar story. I think it'll be good. It's just a good old fashioned
It's
action
not
film.
that he couldn't do it. He
There's a bit in
didn't
the
want to do it.
What was it
There's
about?
a bit
You
he
and I went to see-
slides down a
That's
banister
the
on a
bit.
motorbike.
Aye.
I mean,
and it
come
looks,
on.
It actually looks like it's been fixed there, like magnetically.
There's a perfectly good road they could draw. No, I have to slide down this
He
one.
goes
There's
up
people
on it on a
walking.
motorbike.
Well, he could have
With
went down the
somebody-
stairs.
With a wife
Yeah.
on the back of the bike. Instead of just driving down the stairs, up onto the banister. Oh, let's
Right,
slide
I'm
the
not going to
banister
get.
sideways
I'm
on
not
the
going to get
bike.
into semantics about why or why not he went down the banister.
Jumps off-
But
he
all
jumps
I
off
can
a-
see is in
he
order
jumps
to
off a
keep a
high-rise
perfect
building,
balance.
slides down between two, and
That's the
lands on his
technique with
feet.
which he does it, yes.
It is.
What I'm quite interested to find out then is obviously this is tailor made for a porn remake, the Porn Legacy. What are they going to do on a banister?
Slide down it with the brass oils on it.
Toss it around. We'll come back to that one.
Let's not toss anything. Aye.
So Bourne Legacy. Edward Norton is the baddie in this, by the way, or the CIA.
Yes.
Oh,
guy
I might
who's-
have to go back and retract almost. I'm
I love
never going to
Edward.
see it now.
Yeah,
Actually,
Norton.
he's good.
Right, he plays the character Bayard.
Right.
Edward Norton. There's nothing to be said against him. Edward
No,
Norton.
definitely.
Amazing.
So I.
He's in Fight Club. That gives him,
Fucking
that
hell.
gives him,
Making
that gives him a
history
pass for everything, though.
You
Yeah.
mentioned another
From now
wee
on.
film earlier, Davey.
Winnie the Pooh.
Um,
Well, that was me who mentioned that. Right,
it's a kind of hot topic at the moment, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, fuck off.
I feel we should kind of mention this.
We didn't
although,
have to.
although it's kind of book related initially.
Oh,
is, sorry, Baz.
Sorry.
50 Shades of Grey, obviously, is pretty much on
Everyone's lips.
everyone's lips.
The erotic novel by British author E.L. James,
Yes.
set largely in Seattle.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to go into the details of the book because I couldn't really care less about the book, but we have just heard recently that it's Universal have won the bidding rights to make the film 50 Shades of Grey.
Probably cost him a lot of money.
The most
and-
important thing here, well, I mean, you can hear us about film, but what you could care about is that men everywhere have had the control of the remote control relinquished back to them. For periods of
the other thing is, people keep speaking about it in code. Women are speaking about it in code on Twitter and Facebook, so men don't actually know what it's about. They just think 50 Shades of Grey, it's some porn for birds. They're reading it in bed. They're not giving me any. Right, that's a general. But the thing is, the fact is, what you need to know is it's the first instalment. The 50 Shades of Grey is the first instalment in a trilogy that traces the deepening relationship between a college graduate, Anastasia Steele, and a young business magnate, Christian Grey. And it is notable in its explicitly erotic scenes featuring elements of sexual practices involving bondage, discipline, sadism, and masochism, I suppose.
That's right.
Are you
Butt
sure
plug
you
sales
know?
are through the roof.
Are you sure you haven't just read that off the internet? Then? 'Cause that sounded very well written.
But no, I'm just good at reading things.
He watched the radio.
I'm educated.
I only found out recently that it's something to do with that fucking Twilight thing, is it no?
Aye.
Originally,
I mean, it started as Twilight fan fiction or slash fiction. I don't know what the difference between fan fiction and slash fiction is, but this wife liked Twilight films. She thought, I'm going to write the same fucking stories, but there was no enough sex in the Twilight films, so
Aye.
I'm going to put loads of sex in it.
The 50 Shades
Same
trilogy was
stories,
developed
minus
from
the
a Twilight
vampires,
fan
essentially.
fiction.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what
right,
it
so there's
says.
no vampires in it.
No
'Cause see,
vampires.
I do like seeing that wee bird getting ridden in True Blood. I'm quite a fan of that.
Do you know
I like that.
do you know what it was going to get originally
Aye.
called? Masters of the Universe.
Like He-Man.
No.
Dolph
You have
Lundgren.
to have a
Aye,
set
but if you
of
think
voice
about
for
the sexual connotations in He-Man,
Yeah.
obviously you want to think about when you were a bear and you go, I have the power, no, I have you know, just
Right
I'll
up
never
here,
look at
aye.
that film again. this
you
year.
know, it's
Aye, so
It's been made into
it's been made in a film. I've read on the internet that the producers are going to be Michael DeLuca and Dana Brunetti, who did The Social Network.
Oh,
Good film.
Could be interesting.
love the
Great
Social
film.
Network.
And also the American Psycho author Bret Easton Ellis
I heard this.
I
has
didn't hear this.
showed an interest in
Writing the script.
actually writing the script for
He
it.
said that he wanted to do the script because he feels he's the only one that'll be able to bring a degree of kinda-
Actual bondage and
Yeah.
sadomasochism and
Yeah,
violence.
and
to it.
if you've ever read American Psycho, then you'll see he's the very man for
Yeah.
it.
I know
everybody's
everybody
fighting
looks,
over the
but-
film rights though. This is the problem. Warner Brothers, Sony, even Mark Wahlberg's production
It's
company
gonna
are trying
be-
to get a hold
you-
of
you've
it.
got to
Because the
understand
thing is,
that
it's going to
gonna
make
be-
fucking millions.
It's
Oh,
going
aye.
to be
Oh, aye.
huge. It's going to be absolutely. I mean, the Twilight
Well,
films finished
this is
this year, and I mean, they'll look to get something out.
Yeah.
How do
possibly
you market
next
them?
year.
Because they're going to have to make it an 18, you know,
Yeah.
a restricted
Oh
fucking
yeah,
18
oh yeah,
almost.
definitely.
You know, so
Will they though? Do you think?
Well, I think so. I think the
well, if they're going to have
British
as much
film standards, they
bondage
don't
and
allow-
stuff in it, I don't know.
Well,
That's
it's
the
when it's like kind of the difference between sexually implied and sexually explicit. And I've not read the book, but having heard what people are saying about it, I believe there's.
It's just that every what 5 or 6 years another fucking shite film for birds comes out. That's basically what this is. So it's basically Sex in the City with mere sex in
It's-
it,
yeah.
or it's fucking Mamma Mia with shagging.
It's
Bridget Jones with fucking vampires.
Exactly. There you go. See, Baz understands it.
it's a counterbalance to all.
Don't
the
you talk to me
comics
about
and stuff.
counterbalances, because he can go down that fucking banister on a bike with a bird in the back, nae bother. All right.
Who's the kind of lead role at the
Well,
moment? Of who
at
they're
the
looking
moment, the
at
names are thrown about at the moment are
Sigourney Weaver.
Ryan Gosling as the male. He's
Green Lantern cunt.
No, that's Ryan Reynolds.
Drive,
Drive,
and
and,
Valentine, Lars and the Real Girl.
He's a good actor.
Anybody under
Half
25
Nelson.
really gay for
What
him.
do you call it?
So that's no anybody
He's a
here.
good actor.
It's
He was
really
in that
actor.
new film with Steve Carell, came out the fucking.
That's
Murder
right,
by
yeah.
Numbers. He's in that as well.
I've not seen any of these films.
It's
Ryan
it's 'cause
Gosling.
he's the favourite anyway.
And the other person leading that guy, I forget his name, but he was in Something Borrowed. I don't know his name.
Right. I don't know.
Can't help
Yeah.
anybody there.
Michael Fassbender's name's been thrown about, and
We like
Ian,
Michael Fassbender.
Ian Somerhalder from Vampire Diaries also been bandied about as well.
Now, we know from Shame that,
No.
that Fassbender can play
Fassbender
a,
can play a good
a sexually addicted
Exactly.
That's a good film.
If you haven't seen
Guy,
Shame,
you know,
check that
yeah, it's
fucking
an
film
awesome
out.
aye,
That's
a,
awesome.
guy, a guy who's got real issues. So
For the female part, the only one that I can find at the moment is Mila.
Kristen Stewart, he's
So-
gonna bump fuck her.
Please just tell me you were going to say Mila Jovovich.
No, Mila Kunis.
Oh, fuck.
Aye.
Apparently.
I
You
think
know,
you
it'll
should
probably
get
change,
somebody
it'll
like.
probably
I was thinking you should get somebody like Lolly Badcock, you know, like a proper porn star, right? Get her in,
Oh,
and
Jesus.
she'll know which is fucking Ben,
Well,
and I'll go and see it then.
I kind of think that the character probably needs to be an unknown. I think it'd be best as an unknown.
Aye,
If you try and picture one of these like actresses that like Mila Kunis or that,
take some away from you.
aye.
Well, no,
it's
not
gonna
as
get
much there to be
typecasted
taken away
either.
from
I
you.
don't know. I don't know.
Aye,
At the
I
end
know
of
what
the
you're
day, it's
saying.
Meg for Family Guy getting pummeled.
Aye,
it's
aye.
not right.
Well, apparently that Alan Ball, it was at the Comic Con in San Diego, had said that it promises very hot sex scenes. So
And what's he? Who's he?
I have no idea.
Take a
She's
tissue.
just some bloke.
Aye,
Take a tissue there.
Take a tissue of the
Was
picture.
he a Comic Con patron?
aye. Some
Cineworld brings you 50 Shades of Grey, sponsored by Kleenex.
yes.
And for the women, Violina Super Mop.
So I'll have the
Big
big
black
gulp
bags in the
of
chairs.
shrimp popcorn, the big gulp Coke, and a hot dog. What are you going to be doing? I'm going to eat it, you cheeky bitch. Fair dues, fair dues.
So I thought it was only fair to discuss that anyway. And it'll probably not be out for another
Couple
year
of years
or two,
anyway.
Because it takes so long to get the shaggins right.
That's
You
right.
know.
I think they've written a screenplay yet, so
I might even use CG. That'd be quite good.
CG?
CG film 50 Grades
CG?
of Shade. Shade.
50 Grades of Shade.
50 gays. 50 gays. 50 gays in the shade.
50 grades of gays.
50 gays in the shade. That would be quite a good film.
Oh, that's definitely going to get made, isn't it?
Well, the second one.
A porn version of everything, doesn't it?
Big Trouble in Little Vagina. That's my favourite one. Yeah. Kurt Russell. There you go. Anyway.
Big Trouble, you know? Jack Burton.
So aye, that's upcoming films. Next we have upcoming albums and a couple of exclusives for you. Hold on.
We've spared no expense.
So I reckon none of us knew that was coming up.
How did you get that band in here?
Put that trumpet away. My first upcoming album is a band that I absolutely love. I absolutely love this band to no end. They've got a new album coming out. They've been saying on the internet it's going to be fall, but actually I spoke to one of the guys at the record label at Relapse, and it's due out in October according to them. So that's a wee rock and reel exclusive. The band is Pig Destroyer. And they're a kind of grindcore band from Virginia in America.
If anybody doesn't know, they're three-piece band. They've got
Yep.
J.R. Hayes, the vocalist, they've got a guitarist and a drummer,
Yep.
and that's it.
Yep.
No bass player, no messing about.
No.
Fucking
Awesome.
Awesome.
This is their fifth album. We don't have a title for it yet, but we know from the label it's going to be 19 songs long, and it's going to be recorded by Scott Hall, the guitarist, at his studio Visceral Sounds. So, and that's due in October. It's been 5 years since their last album.
Let's say 19 songs.
I
Might
think
sound like
Terrifier,
long,
I think was the
but-
last one.
Oh, was it Phantom Limb? I'm trying to think now.
No, I think was it? No, maybe it was. No, Phantom Limb, was it?
Who
No,
knows?
that's an old. Terrifier
It's
was
been
a
too
great
long
album.
anyway since the
Terrifier was a
last
great
album.
album, and I'm really looking forward.
You're
to
on
that.
your own with this one. Never
J-
listen to anything.
J.R.
Seriously?
Hayes, J.R. Hayes,
Yeah.
the vocalist. I think he's a fucking poet.
Yeah.
I
His
honestly do.
lyrics are
He's the best
phenomenal.
lyricist I've ever
Yeah.
had the pleasure of reading their lyrics.
One of
He's
those ones that
awesome.
when you read the lyrics, there's an image.
Yeah.
Like everything he writes, you can visualise what he's saying. It's incredible. What I was going to say is 19 songs might sound like a lot, but Pig Destroyer have songs which are less than 30 seconds long.
Yeah,
So
it's probably the album will probably top in about half an hour or something like that.
tops, but if it's anything like anything they've released before, it's going to be an
They
absolute
don't
beast.
they don't really tour that much. Like they don't do a lot of wee gigs. They do festivals every now and again. I think they've announced a couple of UK festivals later in the year, but they're not really a touring band. They're more a kind of studio kind of project. But they're all in other bands. Agoraphobic,
I'd love to see them
Nosebleed,
live
and-
though.
I definitely would as well. I think they would be pretty visceral live. Yeah, so that's October according to the record label.
If anybody hasn't heard Pig Destroyer and wants to check them out, look up a track called Tripled Horses.
Crippled
Oh, it's
Horses.
an amazing track.
Fantastic song.
Sounds awesome, doesn't it? Crippled Horses.
I've got my issues with the whole grindcore thing. After you made me listen to that anal cunt thing, Dave, that was friggin'
Anal cunt,
appalling.
you
my apologies for that, man.
On the apology.
Yeah, Pig Destroyer. So next one, September release. We have the Swiss. I don't even know how to kind of genrefy this band. Industrial,
metal.
progressive, groove metal, cyber metal. They're a band called Cybreed.
Amazing.
Cybreed are pretty awesome. They've got a album number 4 coming out. God is an Automaton. Released on
that
Listenable
the name
Records.
That's
Yeah.
an awesome
God
name.
is an automaton.
That sounds amazing.
Sounds fucking awesome. Listenable Records, 24th of September.
It's only going to be. It's only 5 tracks long though, so it's not. It's not. I don't know if it classes as an album. Or
Depends how
maybe
long the
just.
tracks
Wow.
Depends, hey, see that, just a wee side note, I know, don't want to kind of go into this too much, but just while you're talking about that, I was going to ask you guys, where do you draw the line between an EP and an album? Is it to do with the length? Is it 30 minutes? Or is it 25 minutes? Or is it to do with the number of tracks? Because of course, you get like black metal albums that have got 2 tracks in them, but they last like 38 minutes each.
Which you could say the same about a prog album as well. You know.
It's interesting you say that. I mean, one of the albums I reviewed earlier on in the year was that one by Joyce Manor, which is classed as a full album. It has, I think, 9 tracks and clocks in at under 13 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was a great album, but if I had forked out 10 or 12 pounds, which is what they were charging online for that album, I would have been seething.
Aye. So do you think it's just more down to when the band say this is an album or this is an EP? Do you think it's their call?
A lot of
I think
press
it's
backs
blood
that come
nowadays.
out,
It
and-
goes
well,
back to Vine days.
Yeah.
You know, it was an extended play. It was
Yeah.
longer than a single, but it was shorter than an
Yeah.
album kind of thing. You know, I think most of them used to be issued in 7-inch format.
Well, I mean, if it is, I mean, it's 5 tracks according to listens there. Post-Human Manifesto, No Wisdom Brings Solace. You know, but I would say that if the 5 songs are of great awesomeness, then it doesn't really matter. But if it's 5 songs of pish, then I'd be like, if I paid 14 quid for 5 tracks, right?
Regardless of the length. Aye.
Exactly. Yeah.
But give us, so we don't know if it's an album or an EP, but
Unsure. But I have had word from the label that we'll be getting it very soon to review it.
Oh, awesome.
So,
awesome. Look forward to doing that.
So we'll be checking that out soon.
Bags Aid.
No, you've got to
You
see
can't
it.
just Bags Aid.
You've got to see it to Bagsy it.
Shotgun.
And I've got a 40 here, so Bagsy.
For any of our international listeners, Bagseed.
Bagsy means to call it first.
To call Shotgun.
Don't they say shotguns to internationals?
How?
Oh, excuse me.
Last upcoming album and another exclusive is the new album from Vision of Disturbed.
Oh.
Kind of hardcore band from New York, or the class is hardcore anyway. This is their 5th album. It's called The Cursed Remain Cursed, out on Candlelight Records, and it's been released on the 17th of September. So far what we know is it's produced by a guy called Will Putney, who's done Shadows Fall, Demon Hunter, Suicide Silence, Blood Simple, which is Vision of Disturbed's other band or side project, and mixed by Cameron Webb, who did Motorhead, Social Distortion, Pennywise, Ignite, Alkaline Trio. A little bit from Tim Williams, the vocalist of Vision Disorder. He says lyrically it's coming from a pretty dark place, falling into the pits of one's own personal hell and having to crawl out or die down there.
I've actually had the lucky
That would be the right place to bring back in.
Well, I've been lucky enough to actually hear the album already.
What changes?
Changes.
Oh,
But I don't know how many fans of Vision of Disorder are in this room.
Yes.
But this
Few.
album is nowhere near a patch on Bliss and Devastation.
I think the funny thing about this, right, is it's 10 years. I've heard it as well. It's 10 years since their last album, almost 11, from Bliss to Devastation, which I liked, but
Yeah.
universally it was panned
Yeah.
because the previous album was Imprint,
Yeah,
and
it was
Imprint
fucking
is
amazing.
pretty much a flawless hardcore
Yeah.
album. It's like it's the standard. I mean, it's like hardcore's
quite an
coming back.
iconic album, isn't it?
Yeah, hardcore's coming back now. There's a lot of hardcore bands you can hear. You can finally now start to hear the Vision of Disorder influence, Imprint influence on a lot of the bands that are coming out now. And it is, and I like I say, I love. You can definitely, if you go and listen to Blood Simple, you can hear where the band was going with from Bliss to Devastation. They were moving towards that sort of idea sound. It's certainly not a hardcore album. The new Vision of Disorder album. It has hardcore elements, it has metal elements, but for a comeback album, it's a grower. I
It
think
is a
I've listened to
grower.
it
That
about
is a
4 or
grower,
5 times now.
Yeah.
It gets better with every listen. Tim Williams is such a phenomenal frontman. His lyrics are excellent. His vocals are so fucking raw all the way through it. And it's going to be one to watch. I think.
Yeah.
It's an excellent album. I really enjoy it.
I'm a Vision of Disorder, a band that kind of always kind of went under my radar. Was never that paying much attention, but I did listen to the new album and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really varied. I thought you can hear they've really poured their heart into a lot of the writing in it. A lot of different kind of styles meshed. It's definitely worth a listen.
Yeah.
I think I'm right in saying that rockandreelreviews.com are one of the first people in the world to hear this album.
That's
Am I right,
correct,
Dave? It's not due out for months yet.
September, I think it's due.
Yeah.
Yep, 17th September. The label sent it to us to check out, and as far as I know, I don't think anyone else has heard it.
Because we're fucking special.
I've never heard of the band at all. I started listening to some of it last night. I was listening more this morning. I've not listened to the whole album. Quite enjoyed it, I've got to say. The one thing I liked is they're a band that aren't afraid to sing. A lot of the stuff that we are getting through at the moment, particularly vocally, is just the fucking same. There was an EP from a band called Alistair Hennessy, was it?
Yeah.
That we got recently, and it looked quite interesting. It was just a 5-track EP, and I listened to it last night, stuck it on, and as soon as the guy started singing, I went, oh, for fuck's sake, and I turned the thing off. Because it's just this whole screamo, just. But the Vision of Disorder, I mean, it's harsh vocals, you know.
You got a good balance, eh?
I
He's
was
got
very
some
impressed with that.
really
That's
good
one album I
voice.
have to grow on me. I've only listened to it a couple of times, but I didn't really fancy it that much.
He's got a really unique voice as well because he has got such an abrasive kind of high pitched kind of scream, but it's kind of deep at the same time. So when he does go into that kind of, he's more kind of singy thing, it has a kind of grungy feel to it.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean? It's that kind of.
Do you know what stuck out to me about the album? I thought his vocals totally reminded me of Lane Staley, obviously the early Alice in Chains.
Yeah,
album.
yeah.
Now,
Yeah, I would agree
you
with
know,
that.
now deceased, but he totally stuck out. You could hear that, a lot of that influence in his voice.
Yeah.
It's
Sounds
good,
like-
it's
in a
good
good
to
way,
see
though.
them back.
Yeah,
I mean, I
definitely.
like Blood Simple. I thought both albums that they released were excellent, but there are a couple of tracks where you're listening to it and they were more on the commercial side of things, and you were listening, you were going, played in Vision of Disorder, you know, and it's almost it's one of these things that's been rumoured. I mean, they've been back together as a band for a year and a half now. It looked like their album wasn't going to be out for a while, and things have seemed to move through fairly quick. And the guys at Candlelight are absolute gems for sending us the album because,
Yeah, it's good,
as I
isn't
say, it's one to watch.
Yep.
Excellent.
We also have an interview coming up with Vision of Disorder. We have been granted a little interview with them, so we're going to have that coming up next month on the website, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
There's a lot of good albums coming out next month though, because I know Rob Zombie's releasing a new album.
Yeah.
Steve
It's
Vai.
a remix album. Now.
Aye,
It's not a new album.
Steve Vai's got a new album, and
Has he?
for me, September there's a new Devin Townsend album coming out as well.
Epicloud.
yeah.
Epicloud.
Ectomorph, Aerosmith, back music from another dimension. If you're into that sort of thing, Threshold, if you like your prog,
Nice.
another album, and The Darkness, if you're into that push.
Well, this is a bit of a build up for the Darkness as well.
Aye.
Since
It'll be
obviously
in-
they've come back
Yeah, it'll
together.
be interesting to hear how that goes because it'll either sound as good as their first album or sound as weird as their second.
I heard the guys from Metal Hammer talking about it. They'd heard the new album and they said I think it's going to be a grower. It didn't initially kind of hit them as much as
Permission
Permission to Land did, but it's good to see them back together because I think when they split up and they done their individual things, it was just
That
shit.
Hot Legs was awful.
It just didn't work.
I
So I'm
couldn't
glad
give
to
a
see them.
fuck. I fucking hate them.
New Gaslight Anthem album's out in a couple of weeks as well, guys.
That's true.
It's going to be beasting.
Cannot wait!
Some metas up. Some metas up
Marillions
with that.
releasing an album in October. Marillion.
Oh, Marillion.
That's caught you all unawares there, didn't it?
Comfortable silence.
Yeah, so plenty coming out.
Totally.
Loads of stuff. We'll be reviewing loads of shit just coming up. The amount of material we've got is just ridiculous at the moment.
And if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're thinking, why have they not reviewed my album or /EP yet? We will get to it when we can.
Or we have reviewed it and we just didn't think they're very good, so shut your pie.
Oh, no, we have reviewed it. We haven't posted it yet. We're
Or
keeping
maybe
you
we
in
have
suspense.
we do like it, and we're just no very good.
Talking about I was just mentioning about the interview about Vision Disorder. Our man Duncan, actually, he was away interviewing Baroness just earlier in the week through in Glasgow. Had a little interview with the vocalist / guitarist John. It's up on the website, you can check it out. If you go to www.rockandrollreviews.com/interviews, there's a link to the Baroness interview. But how was that, Duncan? How did it go? And
Fantastic.
Quite enjoy
The guy, John, was really engaging. It was an excellent interview. Loads of information about where they were coming from, creative process wise, and how they were writing the album, why they were playing smaller venues on this tour, try to reconnect with fans. So excellent. The thing about them is you always feel slightly daunted when you meet like someone that you idolise, and Baroness is one of the bands that I think are excellent. Following them for a wee while now, and you kind of get a level of, well, this guy might be slightly pretentious or whatever. There's the exact opposite. Very clever man, and I got a chance to see them later on that night, and they played an absolute fucking stoter of a gig.
Was he put off at all by your nervous erection?
No, I carried my iPad to bash it down.
What does a nervous erection do? I mean, is it still rigid but kind of withers?
Stutters a lot.
Oh, right, I see.
It's not like a semi.
It was one of,
Flaps.
it was one of those kind of moments where you first start speaking to them, and the first two questions, I kind of a bit nervous, but he was completely laid back. And obviously, these guys are doing about 1 million interviews, and once you start to get a really good dialogue, I mean, they're more than happy to tell you about, you know, why they like coming to the UK, and you know what they want to achieve with the new album, which I've reviewed recently, and the new album is, well, double album is really good. It's excellent.
I read the interview. I thought it was really good.
Yep. Hopefully more
Really
interviews coming down the line.
Yep, definitely. That's pretty much all we've got to talk about. I've got a little kind of little shout out just to make just at the end there, just to say thanks, really, just to all the PR companies and labels, Hold Tight PR, Smash It, Clawhammer, Red Tentacle, Little Press, Earshot Media, Buzzin PR, and all the labels: Metal Blade, Nuclear Blast, Central Media, Candlelight, Relapse, Face Down, Listenable, Rise Records, Season of Mist, Inside Out. The list goes on and on and on. Plus all the individual bands that have actually sent their stuff to us.
Independence.
Yeah, thanks so much. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll be reviewing some more of your stuff pretty soon. Anything else anyone wants to say before we shut down?
9 million.
Just say, remember to check out our brother reviewer Mikey, 10 o'clock every Friday on Oban FM.
Yep.
Oban
That's
FM
right.
Rock Market.
Everything that gets reviewed gets played. Open FM Rock Market Friday nights. Although I might be going nightly.
Whoa, that'd be exclusive there.
Yeah,
That's
exclusive,
a bomb to drop right at
exactly.
this point in the
A
podcast.
couple of hours, same sort of 10 to 12 slot, or maybe early. I don't know. I haven't really worked it out yet, but
Don't let it change you, Mikey. Don't let it change you,
I
mate.
try not to, but then again, I do it for free. I'm community orientated, spirited kind of a guy. I like to give metal to the masses for free. So
Sounds very much like communism.
well, I suppose it's that time of the night when he needs to get put back in his crypt.
Thanks very much for listening to Rock and Roll Review's first podcast. I'm going to play you out with some 12 Bore, the whole track this time. And
Please go and check that band out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're alright.
Free.
check out 12 Bore,
It's
definitely.
free.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I was Mark.
I was Mark Tay.
I have been Mark. I am Mark.
Am I supposed to be saying that?
Yeah, it's just you.
All right, well, thanks very
You're
much for
saying
listening. I'm Mikey.
Yeah, well, I'm Dave. You already know that. Thanks very much for listening.
I'm Baz. It's been wonderful.
And I'm Duncan.
Cheers. We know.
If you're gonna live your life this way, you'll end up in